Welcome to this special vigil rock and roll, which was every time, Rainbow Dragon. We're gonna salute the firefighters up in Alberta. It is 8:39 p.m. I'm gonna commence with gratitude rock and roll. Welcome to this overtime, every time, rock and roll, double trouble, rock and roll. For the firefighters up in Alberta, big salutation, Rainbow Dragon. Gonna stretch it a little bit. Take some brain and some muscle, and of course, all this week, all my marching rock and roll vlogs. You can see them on YouTube, or of course, to the mountain and back and around about Montreal, aka Hawkeye. I'm gonna salute the firefighters. Special vigil for the firefighters in Alberta. Heard some good news. There was a little bit of rain, and of course, that is some good news in terms of the firefighting activities. Get some help from Mother Nature. Mother Nature, we gotta cooperate, work together in civilization. Rock and roll 24/7 for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, firefighters, all involved in the production, distribution of food. As I go live on this Facebook, already live. It is 8:40 p.m. We're gonna go overtime every time, as you know, we go and drill it. And grateful, thankful, as always, begin commence with gratitude. Don't mind me, I got it. Asperger's. Asperger's is not a mental illness. It is a neurodivergent mental condition. Asperger's is not a mental illness. It is a neurological divergent condition. It is a neurological divergent condition. It is not NOT a mental illness, and it is the fact that Asperger's. I got that Aspie symptoms, and I'm an Aspie. Been accepting it for the past, let's say, 2 to 3 years during this COVID, and now, of course, I learned to manage my symptoms, and of course got those Asperger symptoms which might repeat words, phrases twice. Got that echolalia, got other symptoms which of course makes me obsessed, as people with Asperger's knows that we have obsessive interests. So my obsessive interests are 24/7 for the past like 7 years or so. Geopolitical studies and analysis. When I wake up in the morning, 24/7 analyzing. I'm an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist who has, with all the imperfections, flaws, vices, and mediocrities that I do also have, and flaws and vices, I did predict, not in a prophetic manner, but in a studying and analyzing deep and multiple angles and texts and books upon politics and geopolitics and civilizations. And over the past more than 7 years, I've concluded back in 2019 that humanity were again headed towards an international conflagration, and I got proof of that work, because I am great when you say the word geopolitics and geopolitical analysis, geopolitical theory. You enter my kingdom, my domain. But anyways, grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. Thank you for the food donation. Food security starts with the farmers. Thank you, farmers of North America. North Americans United is the call 24/7. This Quebecer Canadian North American who was born in the USA twice after 1776, served both times in the United States Army. You heard that correct. I am a mystic. I do believe in reincarnations and past lives, as I have during the more 7 years plus. I get a flash on the mountain of my past lives, as I've been going there in the Mount Royal Belvedere, around about my favorite place, my second home, on the mountain Mount Royal here from Hawkeye, Montreal metropolis. 2.5 million people in this North America, the collective civilizational complex. North Americans United is the song. East Coast, West Coast, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Support this independent Aspie, retrograde amnesia artist, athlete, philosopher, great, super excellent geopolitical analyst and theorist. While at some things I am mediocre, average, and so. Got tiny hands, tiny feet, tiny little, the tiniest of the tiniest. Do some comedy sometimes. Saluting the firefighters. Take some brains and some muscle to do those firefighting. So I salute. I wish I would be there on the ground with them, getting them some offerings, some doing some drills, and of course salvaging whatever all the operations which is ongoing with the helicopters, with the choppers, with the machines, with the gear, with the bodies on the ground. They're salvaging and helping with the operations to deliver or to rescue our fellow citizens. Salute. And since I like more, offer more than blah blah blah, this is another Aspie thing. It's part of Asperger's, and a lot of people mistake our Asperger's that we are not compassionate or don't have empathy. We do, is that we show it differently. We show it more by action. For example, I'll give you an example. If you'd be my friend, and from now on, friends with benefits only. From now on, today, friends with benefits only. Pledge your allegiance, thou art family is the rock and roll Rainbow Dragon song 24/7. So from now on, it is friends with benefits only. All my allies and armies, double A. Pledge your allegiance, thou art family, for the kingdom, for the empire. Public-private partnership is the call to all. Basically, when I say the kingdom, the empire is my dream. The dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, which is yours truly's dream, for the unity on a public-private partnership of North Americans, of North America and a Democratic Republic, or a public-private partnership to the constituents, of course, of North America, what I call the North American Civilizational Complex, wherein we made the Great Linguistic Compromise, as I call it, the Great Linguistic Compromise, of course, of North America. We're going to switch to that French because we liable province, and of course this Quebec or Canadian North Americans is for world peace and universal, but pretty much all I know is the island metropolis of Montreal, 2.5 million people right here on this 8:44 p.m. EST, encouraging all to work out, train, exercise, have been and will continue to call for the mass financing via public-private partnership. Let's go NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, for the mass financing of citizens to work out, train, exercise. I've created my own workout training program system because parallel to geopolitics, the study and the analysis of geopolitics, my other obsessions is sports. Dancing is my favorite sport, and a great dancer. Dancing is my favorite sport, although I love football, gridiron, and basketball, and boxing, and other sports. Of course, I love boxing, but dancing is my favorite sport. But I'm sports fitness obsessed, if you will, along with geopolitics and the study of civilization, along with some civilizational studies in public hygiene. Gonna sip this coffee a little bit, saluting the firefighters, although I like to offer more than blah blah blah. I'll offer some rock and roll artistic comedy to the firefighters. LOV, always love, love, love with love and respect, and offer them some massages, some rock and roll singing, some dancing, and some washing of the feet or something at Beaver Lake. If they come here from Alberta, those who are fighting the firefighters in the past 2 weeks, especially recently in the past, I say 2 weeks. If you ship them over to Montreal, give them some hotels to stay over the weekend, and I'm gonna dance for them and give it a little bit of, offer some massages, offer some washing of the feet right in Beaver Lake or whatever the hell, or some big hugs. You hug for me like you never hug for big hugs, big LOV, as I could always use a HUG, but you hug for me. And today I am grateful, thankful my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and gratitude. Such an important thing in mental healthness and joy. And I am financially stressed. I am financially stressed. I'm not gonna go a little bit because I had, of course, employments during COVID. Few employments which I really like, opportunities, but they were short-lived contracts. And Asperger's. Sometimes people don't know what it is, so they think it's mental illness, and they get whatever XYZ causes. But it's another issue which many Asperger's, Aspies, of course, face until we get entrenched and until we do the business on which we are. Myself as an artist, athlete, and geopolitical analyst and theorist, when you enter geopolitics and geopolitical discussions and theorizing and analysis, you enter my kingdom, my domain. So that is Asperger's. If you're an Aspie, you know what I'm talking about, that we have interests, obsessive interests. So we study with intensity those interests in 24/7, and mine is geopolitics with rock and roll and artist, because I'm an artist, an athlete, and a philosopher. Double A, artist, athlete, and independent athlete, independent artist, independent philosopher, and great, super, and excellent geopolitical analyst and theorist who has predicted the situation, the escalation of international conflicts, and the possibility of a World War III, an international conflagration back in 2019, and even prior to that, and even the public financial stress and situation that the public finances are undergoing. But I also, paradoxically, due to the curse of Asperger's, have my trinity of theories, which I believe, of course, where are now at this point in time is the only solution for their implementation to create two covenant, complementary, and cooperative public-private partnership (PPP) institutions that I'm calling all institutions and organizations to support in this 21st century. In the 21st century, with new philosophies and fresh ideas, and of course fresh liberations, and of course the energies which we have. And it takes all the private and all the public for my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. When I say my dream, the dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership, and I'm not perfect, far from it. I don't play self-righteous or so many things I do not know. I know my geopolitics 24/7. I know that I'm grateful, thankful that my rent's paid for the month of May, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and I like to play that rainbow rock and roll for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks. Thinking about now, let's do a meditation across North America. All those truckers with all the goods, all those preparing food now. Thank you from the cooks, firefighters, nurses, daycare workers, of course, all those cleaning the cities. Got 3 services, got to be grateful for those who pick up the garbage every week. The compost, got to salute them. The compost, the garbage, and of course, not only the compost, the garbage, but of course, the recycling. We got public sanitation. It takes the public and the private. It takes nature and the individual and the collective. Right here on my mind, the underground Dragon's Lair. small tiny place, but I'm grateful for having it because I left a few years ago, you know, a moldy MOLD, lots of moldy place and smaller place and lots of mold. Maybe that's why I got retrograde amnesia and my blackout of memories. I just remember moving and being depressed and suicidal and crossing Canada in 2017 in August and September, and after that starting embarking on a fitness journey, started working out, training and exercising, working out, training and exercising, and working out, training and exercising, you know. So starting working out, training and exercising, I always feel good when I work out, train, exercise. On my fitness journey already for my fitness journey has been a few years. Still got some improvement to do every day. You know, it's always I begin my fitness journey. Always begins today. I always say my fitness journey always begins today. Thank you, firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks. Thank you, firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, all involved in the production and distribution of food. What my main message is, with consent and hygiene, hug like you never hugged before. And I don't mind doing a little bit of comedy because I'm an artist and a little bit of comedy. I'm a 1/7 comedian who's not perfect, far from it. In a parallel life, I'm a super scientist. I design, build supercomputers, ICBM rockets, satellites. I'm a hybrid of Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg. I still have Asperger's in that parallel life where everything I do is build satellites for NORAD, and supercomputers and ICBM rockets. I'm a super scientist in that parallel life. In this parallel life, in this life, I'm a artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical analyst, and theorist who, you know, has been depressed and suicidal, and I crossed Canada coast to coast, and that event in my life changed the whole course of my life. Crossing Canada coast to coast because I said so many things to see here. My fellow Canadians, and I was born right on this island several times. You know, I believe in reincarnations, and this Montreal Island has been my home for many years now. All I know is really this Montreal Island and North America, as much as I am for world peace and study and analyze international relations and international geopolitics. I am fundamentally a North American, a Quebecer Canadian, and a world citizen universal for world peace. But I can always say everything that I do as a geopolitical analyst and theorist and philosopher from a North American perspective, because at the end of the day, all my analysis, as much as I can go deep into the geopolitics, and I'm going to go a little bit into it because the major event has just wrapped up, and the major event in geopolitics and international relations in politics is, of course, the Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, for his fifth term now elected, although he was also prime minister, but not gonna go into that. Whatever I think, it doesn't matter. Although I can analyze, I'm gonna analyze this as a North American with my philosophy, my interests, part of an individual of what I call the Great North American Collective Civilizational Complex. In other words, of North America, but I see North America as a philosopher theorist. I believe North America, we are an emergent civilizational complex, and in this civilizational complex of North America, we made several compromises, and one compromise to have peace, continuing peace and prosperity and peace, social harmony. There's tensions, there's frustrations, there's give and pro, negotiations constantly for many decades, but it is the great linguistic compromise of the French language, the great linguistic compromise of the French language, what I call as a philosopher, the great linguistic compromise of the French language. I rock and roll in French and English, and of course I love speaking French, and I love learned some Spanish in the past 7 years, and my underground Dragon's Lair has been mostly French, English, Spanish, French, English, Spanish, French, English, Spanish, and I like to learn a little bit of other languages, but French, English, and French, English, English, and French are pretty much my languages, you know, and a little bit of Spanish with a North American. So, as a North American Canadian Quebecer who loves, you know, to see people healthy and fit and working out, training and exercising, but who's also not perfect, who's also flawed, who's also been at one point in time is all depressed and suicidal, and you know, crossing Canada coast to coast made me come out of depression. And I have a protocol which I've started writing right after that. About after I came of that, I wrote an essays, as I've written many essays somewhere on USB keys relating to geopolitics, some analyzing diaspora, some analyzing, of course, complexities of North American issues, social domestic issues, and of course my thesis presented in an oral communicative form back in 2023 of last year. Of course, it was, of course, the great, my thesis as the people's doctor, of course, it was the privilege of civilization, which I am willing to lecture in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead, of course, continuing on it as I started back in 2023, where I analyzed the dimensions of the civilization as we are today in the 21st century, and which, of course, has, of course, occurred and evolved in the 20th century with a lot of the left and the right wing dynamic in politics. And sometimes I'm a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist. I am a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist. I am a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist. My universal revolutionary centrism is tied hand in hand with my Trinity of theories, which I believe best for the public-private partnership to be implemented at least in North America, where we are today, because we are reached a point of geopolitical tensions and escalations, and of course I have predicted this back in 2019. To the firefighters in Alberta, big LOV, big hugs, Rainbow Dragon, rock and roll. You get that spritz on that water, get that fire, salvage the citizens. Got that rock and roll for Alberta. Hey, down in Calgary, when I crossed Canada coast to coast 2017, that got me out of depression and being suicidal. That event changed my life. I started working out, training and exercising, started, doing all that I do as an artist, athlete, philosopher, and worked here and there and had jobs and had contracts, short-lived, some longer, short, whatever the case may be. But I got out of depression because I said to myself, so many things to see, to do in Canada, write rock and roll songs, write poetry, continue my work, write children's books, which I have written a few in French and English, but it's unpublished because I wasn't able to afford the financial matters of $500 to give to a literary agent, although of course in the creative aspect. And what is money? Money is to buy, sell, 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 right? It enables us to buy and to sell, to buy and to sell, to buy and to sell. Money has a purpose. Money has a purpose, and money is not bad or evil. It's just how we use it, and it serves a purpose. That's why I believe my DRT theory, standing for debt refusion theory, for its implementation is the best and the only solution at this point, congruent in time where we are now on this 17th of May, with all the geopolitical ramifications that are going. And of course in geopolitics and international relations, there's always the socioeconomic and financial aspects of it. Please, Wall Street, if you make a million, give 10% to charity. If you're a billionaire, please finance. If I would finance, I would definitely finance food security, women's sports leagues, LGBT causes, environmental causes, and something for my fellow Aspies, Aspies, because we got organizations and what have you. But I've been suffered, if the condition of Asperger's, which again is not a mental illness. So it's not a mental illness. Asperger's is not a mental illness. It is a neurodivergent mental condition, which makes us predisposed to awkwardness. And just to give you an example of a Asperger's symptom would be me passing the cup from the right hand to the left hand to the right hand to the left hand and then drinking. So a lot of people will say, that's weird. That is Asperger's. So we have kind of repetitive motions and repetitive body motions, but there's also the blessing and the curse that at those topics, when you discuss geopolitics, you enter my kingdom, my realm. Now, I don't know so many things about science, computers, and what have you, keyloggers, and all that, hackers, keyloggers, whatever the case may be. No need to spy on me. I open freely, and I love my rainbow ways, No need to spy on me. Secret services of China, secret services of Russia, KGB, Stasi's, whatever the case may be. I love freely. Anybody wants some love, just ask, with consent hygiene. That's it. That's all. Consent hygiene. That's it. That's all. Consent hygiene. That's it. That's all. I've been in the open online for many years. I'm part of the LGBTQ community, androgynous, gay, pansexual. Get that 50-50. You get that 50-50, 50-50. And I do consider myself androgynous, gay, pansexual, but so I can also be, of course, when it things down to business. Give me some push-ups, drop down. Give me push-ups. We channel the aggression with push-ups and hugs. That's the Dragan Army motto. Push-ups and hugs. I got aggression, brothers and sisters. I do have it. I have aggression, but I channel it, I sublimate it, I work out, I train, I exercise to harm no other citizen, right? It's better to certain things admit and then take action to channel and sublimate as well. With sexuality and psychology, we have the irrational emotional side, sometimes the garments, sometimes the people's wearing, whatever the case may be, racism, in a North American diverse society as our, or linguistic tensions, if I can work on my racism, I offer everything that I offer everybody else. Money don't ask, because I don't have money at the moment. I only got trillions of kisses credited from the forgotten goddess. can be, of course, secular. You don't have to have my share of my spiritual belief. I apply in everything non-sectarianism from a North American perspective. I apply in everything non-sectarianism. I apply everything from a North American perspective. I apply it as a non-sectarianism. Non-sectarianism as a North American perspective. Of course, I apply a non-sectarianism. Non-sectarianism. So meaning that I try to be as an individual, because I'm an individual with my own flaws, characters, vices, and impulses and experiences and Asperger's and whatever have you, and the collective. It always, the public-private partnership, always a harmony, balance, and equilibrium, the individual and the collective. This is the great 21st century key. The great 21st century political social question. How do we maximize the liberty and the freedom of the individual? And liberty and freedom, well, I got freedom tattooed there, but it's not that easy. I'm working on it. Very few of us, very few of us are actually worthy to fight in the cause of freedom, because freedom has to be defined, and insured. Insured. INSURED, insured. It's food, housing, and then once you have the housing, the extras, right? Because extras of civilization, internet connection, and hopefully some LOV, and whatever the case may be, some massages, kisses, and dancing and music, and internet, supercomputers, smartphones, whatever the case may be, right? So we have the basics and then the rest, the essentials and then the basics, right? Sometimes the fundamentals, it takes a little bit of old school. It takes a little bit of old school, OLD. Not everything that's always bad. Hydro-Quebec, saluting Hydro-Quebec. I meditate since I died of COVID. I had COVID back in February, March. March was like death, pestilence, and disease for me. It was like death, pestilence, and disease for me. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. I died of COVID. I being reborn. February, March, already 4 years. 4 years I got triple vaccinated, and I'm a bit obsessed about public hygiene. I am a bit obsessed about public hygiene. Something that is public hygiene, of course, is a major importance of me in public sanitation, and it's something which we have in common, and it's something which we gotta secure, because it's not all the things that have to be private and public. It's always a balance, a key, and equilibrium in harmony, the public and the private, right? Because myself as a private individual, if I step outside, I got added responsibilities, duties, and obligations. Today I went outside, I did a little bit of shopping. I didn't spend much, but I was on a tight budget. But anyway, so I saw some citizens holding hands. I saw the youth having fun, laughing and teasing each other, whatever the team, the youth of the kingdom, my children. I watch my children like a hawk. My children like a hawk, HAWK, and their safety, their security, their pleasure. It's important, and security, and not to be overly obsessed with security, liberty gotta go together. The individual and the collective. The individual and the collective, and then we got the other societal questions. Whether it is criminality, sexuality, and justice, which is key. How do we render justice? Justice is something also abstract, like freedom. What are the concordant punishments for somebody who, let's say, steals some bread? Are fundamental questions, because if somebody would steal a bread, it's not the same thing as somebody would steal a car, right? A car and a bread. He has to eat the bread. Coffee, well, if he steals coffee, it's not the same as if he steals water. Water, he's thirsty, he needs to drink, he steals water. If he steals wine, it's not the same thing as if he steals water to drink, because he's thirsty. Wine is another thing, it's an extra, right? So all these discernments, right? Or jewelry, or something, clothing that he needed to wear, or some shaving, or some soap. So discernment, right? Because we are to render judgments, and to my brothers and sisters, who to lose the liberty and the freedom, it's something else, because it's so hard fought for, decades, 20th century wars, World War I, World War II, to have it, to attain it. It's something new. If something's new under the sun, sorry, King Solomon, if something's new under the sun, King Solomon, something new under the sun is freedom. But I'm not worthy myself. Nah, I'm not worthy yet. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. To fight in the cause of freedom, although I got it tattooed there, what a God is. Tiny hands, tiny feet. Freedom is new here in North America. We're very few. FEW are actually to live the sword. SWORD. The sword of freedom is. It's not that, It's new. Our ancestors didn't have it. Whatever have you. It's very new. It's new under the sun. But anyways, I got a new song for the firefighters. Make some of that good loving. If it's not about loving, I don't want none to hear it. Thank you, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks. Hey, those truckers on the road now, getting me some in the Soho. For those cleaning up the roads, for the public workers, public workers, public workers, changing those aqueducts so that we got some cleaner water. That's what's up. Changing some aqueducts so that we got cleaner water. That's what's up. Changing some aqueducts so that we got cleaner water. That's what's up. And this brings me to something which I've begun writing about 7 years ago. It was called an essay parallel to many essays which I've written, part of my philosophies and theories. It's called the North American Citizen Integrated Criminal Rehabilitation Initiative. The North American Citizen Integrated Criminal Rehabilitation Initiative. The North American Citizen Integrated Rehabilitation Initiative. And I think now where we are, geopolitics, we should maybe implement it as much as I've written over the past more than 7 years, more than 7 years, many essays, many theories, which, of course, the majority of the theories and the essays which I've written are very concentrated in my trinity of theories: the citizen integration theory, CIT, the DFT democratic fusion theory, and of course the DFT democratic fusion theory, and of course the debt refusion theory, the DRT debt refusion theory, the debt refusion theory. I'm gonna lift my cup up because I'm also celebrating. I think it's been 2 years since I haven't watched pornography. Not out of the moral question. I'm not morally objective, but myself, I was my own BDSM fantasies too. But so PG. I sworn there that contains mature topics of discussions. All my videos can be warned that I might discuss sexuality or BDSM because I like BDSM. I like BDSM, bondage, domination, sadomasochism. That's I've been open about it for years and being pansexual, part of the LGBTQ community. As a centrist, though, a centrist philosopher. Of course, it's questions which we have to open and to be open and channel and sublimate, channel and sublimate, channel and sublimate. But I celebrate my own not watching pornography, although I did, of course, I did not watch pornography, not out of moral, so I'm not morally against pornography. I just, for myself, 9:05 here, I'm gonna lift the cup that I didn't watch more than 2 years now, more than a year and a half, close to 2 years. I might celebrate more than 2 years, maybe more than 2 years. Sometimes I just can't believe I had COVID in 2020, February, March. 4 years, 4 years, 4 years. Wow. But you know what? Today somebody's hugging, somebody's dancing. The youth is dancing somewhere safely, securely, having fun. First kiss, somewhere across North America and whatever, the world. But somebody in Montreal, Metropolis, my Hawk Island, HAWK, we're surrounded by a river across North America. Because pretty much I'm a North American Canadian Quebecer, so I speak mostly from a North American perspective, although I do will for world peace, but it has taken the other turn in the past few years and during COVID with regionalization. So geopolitics. Thank you, farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks. Saluting the truckers on the road now, those in the nurses, and of course those in the firefighters on the road, public workers, ambulance drivers. Somebody gotta love sing for that public security. Public security, somebody gotta love that, Popo. Somebody sing some rock and roll for it. Hey, nobody's perfect. We're working on everything from the racism, from justice, from economic inequality. It's a work in progress. We got work to do. We got work to do, and I believe part of my theories are part of the North American Rehabilitation Act. And I wish, so I'm still waiting for some response. Sometimes you got that bureaucracy, which is frustrating. And I've written emails and proposals, and it sends all past for 7 years. But say I'm gonna work out, train, exercise, and do videos anyways. Regardless of whatever results I'll come, I just do because I like doing, and my Asperger's makes me obsessed with fitness, geopolitics, and of course, as an artist, I love my rock and roll and the study of civilizations. And I believe my trinity of theories now, where we are leading with the public finances, I believe their implementation for North Americans to unite, as the European Union did, to create a common currency, the UE, Universal Exchange, and the U dot Universal E dot Exchange, based on my debt refusion theory. So I'm gonna briefly discuss it. Take all private and public debt, refuse it with all that numbered in the debt, DEBT, of all private and public debt of North America, convert it to US dollar, all that debt, create a new bank like they did with the ECB, European Central Bank. The ECB, European Central Bank, create a North American bank, or it can be transatlantic with the Bank of International Settlements, and create all the debt and refuse it, and all that number to be an initial money supply for this new currency called the UE, Universal Exchange Unit. That's what I'm calling on astrological brother Bill Gates, and all fintech institutions and corporations and organizations across transatlantic, of course, and a transatlantic, and of course Facebook and all institutions and organizations to create the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit, based on, of course, on the biometrics identifiers, and of course the biometric identifiers, and of course the biometric identifiers, which we have the hand, the voice, and the IB, and unique biometric identifiers, and of course to create this currency. It is the solution. There's no other solution. There's no other solution now, brothers and sisters. But the DRT, debt refusion theory, as you know, that the debt servicing, meaning the debt interest which we pay, the interest on the debt, on the public debt of Canada, has more than doubled in 3 years. 2020, 21, and it was 20.3 billion. A billion is 1,000 million. Now it's 46.5 billion, 46.5 billion, 46.5 billion, 46.5 billion. It is more than double, more than double. It's 46.5 billion. Can you imagine? So take all the public and public debt. That's the DRT, debt refusion theory. The Dragon's DRT, say Dragon's DRT, Dragon's DRT, to create a new currency. They did it back in Europe. The Germans got rid of the Deutschmark. The Italians got rid of the lira. The French got rid of the franc. So we can do it here for the UE. I believe, see, comes out of the curse of Asperger's, having that I studied with intensity. One of my obsessions is the study of civilizations, and in the study of civilizations, there's the study, of course, in civilizations, you study public finance. So I was able to predict this back about more than 6 years ago, that we're going to reach this point. But of course, COVID made it even worse. It made it so worse that, of course, now we pay double on the interest. And just paying the interest is 46.5 billion, 46.5 billion, 46.5 billion. A billion has 9 zeros stand up. So take all, there's no other solution, my brothers and sisters, and there's no other solution but the DRT, where we are now on the 17th of May 2024. 2024, there's no other solution, there's no other solution, there's no other solution, there's no other solution, there's no other solution but the DRT theory, the debt refusion theory, for the creation of the Universal Exchange Unit. Universal exchange unit, universal exchange unit, based on biometrics, and of course, as we have now, to be based on the US dollar. So this is the DRT theory. Take all public and private debt. My debt of 10,500, yours coast to coast, added with the United States, Mexico, the Mexican peso converted to the United States dollar, because the United States dollar still is the currency of choice for international trade, global business, and international finance. It still is the global currency of choice, whether we like it or not. International finance, global business. So to do like they did in Europe, but with my special DRT, to take the public and the private debt, and all that number will finance the initial money supply for this new bank. And with that, we're going to be able to finance the two complementary covenant, the cooperative public-private partnership institutions, and build more Hydro-Quebec dams, regenerate and re-infrastructure, build the infrastructure of North America, build new infrastructure, new highways, new bridges, new trains, by the DRT theory, and create the Dragan army, by public North American Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service and Defense Force, only for defense, security, and service, only and solely for defense, security, and service, coast to coast, coast to coast, and build interconnected defense systems. Take the SDI, Special Defense Initiative from 1984's Reagan, and I'm not a conservative, I'm not right wing, I'm not sorry, but of course, as a centrist philosopher, a realist geopolitical analyst who predicted the geopolitical situations of today and international conflagration back in 2019, I predicted it. We need to build more satellites and defense and interceptor from Canada, United States, Mexico, to be able to intercept all the missiles, ballistic missiles. So we need to build in the coming 7 plus years for the Septennium, support the public-private partnership, the Septennium. The call for the Septennium. Septennium is Latin for 7 years. To build, and to open up some mountains, just like we did in the Cheyenne Mountains, to build and integrate more supercomputers, and build, of course, bunkers, and build, of course, and where we can store food in case of a nuclear war. In case of a nuclear war, it's possible. Just recently, another political event has been the movement of the nuclear capability and nuclear warheads close to the Belarusian border, and of course close to Russia, where they have it on the trains. They can launch ICBM rockets from Moscow to Montreal is 8,500 kilometers. The ICBM stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missiles. Intercontinental Ballistic Missiles can reach Montreal. Someone, the Yars 44, can travel 10,500 kilometers. So from Moscow to Montreal is 8,500 kilometers. So you can even travel all the way to the prairies, in theory. So we need to build interception, satellites, and of course, coast to coast intercept, to be able to have the capability, sort of a hawk, what I call. I started writing about 7 years ago, so the stellar hawk defense. So hawk defense, or the hawk HAWK, the Hawk Defense of North American Initiative, the North American Hawk, the North American Hawk. For the sort of like a hawk, and this part of parallel to Operation Scorpio, Operation Northern Scorpio, Northern Scorpio, which is another things which I have to limit myself in whatever the dictums and the propositions which I'm gonna confluence to internet online about that, because it's of matters, of course, of being a citizen of Canada who's wills for the defense, and of course of fellow Canadians, 40 million here, my family, coast to coast, Canada, great Canadian family, coast to coast, and Quebec family, North American family, and for world peace, all who wills our allies, but fundamentally for North American complex, for the North American civilizational complex, we need to build and open up some mountains to store, in case of more emergency, to store food, such as this one. See this one, interestingly enough, it's got sardines. So this one, if you check the dates there, see, it says best before. See the date there below. So it's not the expiry date, best before. So it's even good a few years after. So this will, in theory, be good more than 7 years, more than 7 years, more than 7 years, because it says best before 2021. See, best before 2029. It says best before 2029. See, CCC 2029. So this can of sardines, it says best before March 3rd, 2029. But if it's best before, we can add 2 more years. 2 more years, let's say even more. So it could be good, not just from now it's 2024. So this is best before 5 years, 5 years, 5 years best before. But we can add 2 years because it's not expiry date. There's difference. Got a distinction. There's a distinction between best before date and expiry date, best before date and expiry date, best before date and expiry date. There's a distinction. There's a distinction. There's a distinction between best before date, and of course best before date is 2025, 2025, 2025. But it's also not expiry dates. If it would have been expiry date, it would have been different, but it's best before. So you got to discern those. And I had few years of experience in working, and of course doing volunteering with a food bank, where also I took in services, because I was there taking services. I'm still am financially stressed. My only stress now is financial. Sometimes I still get moody, but I'm no longer depressed and suicidal. I get a bit moody, but when I work out, I feel better. When I say my gratitude, I feel better. When I see people holding hands and hugging, and when I see the youth happy, joyous, laughing, that always gives me, that always sleeps my mood, man. For the children, for the youth, and I gotta say direct, straightforward. That's another Aspie symptoms. Some people think we will to be offensive. I don't mean to offend, and I apologize to all who have offended in the past. I don't know, triggered amnesia, and who knows the before more than 7 years and XYZ. But we got work to do for the defense here of Canada, coast to coast, for North American civilizational continuity. As I've written, of course, an essay about 6 years ago, more than 7 years ago. I've written an essay for the protocol, citizen integrated protocol for the continuity of the North American civilizational complex, a citizen mobilization initiative for the continuity of the North American civilizational complex. It was an essay which I've been along many essays, philosophical, geopolitical analysis essays, and of course it was called the North American Integrated Citizen Protocol Initiative for the continuing of the North American civilizational complex. It had a long title, but it was mainly in case of a mobilization of citizenry, which included mass finance, fitness, and public hygiene in case of basically a nuclear war, in case of a nuclear war, on a big solar flare catastrophes, or on big natural disaster catastrophes, such as a solar flare could interrupt Starlinks, and the satellites, and we need to build more satellites, interconnected public-private partnership, and of course we need to get that DRT, debt fusion theory, to create the UE, with PayPal and Facebook and all financial institutions and telecommunications companies and public and private institutions and fintech got to work together for the greater good and for myself. And I'm not totally selfless. I'm not totally altruistic. I don't pretend that I'm totally for the other. I want something better for myself. Although I'm grateful, it's much better here where I live. I really came here in this layer with nothing really. I really came with nothing really. I mean, came with nothing. Sometimes we need to leave the baggage at the door. I say, if you pledge your allegiance, thou art family, try to leave the baggage at the door. If you pledge your allegiance, thou art family, try to leave the baggage at the door. If you pledge your allegiance, thou art family, try to leave the baggage at the door. And we form a collective here, a public-private partnership kingdom based on existing institutions, because they got a lot of good. There's a lot of good in institutions. Takes a little bit of that old school sometimes, just push-ups and some hugs and some good massage and some good jogging, is good, a little bit of sunlight, but it takes a new and the old. It takes not something of the new and the old. It takes a little bit of rock and roll. It takes a little bit of rap. Rappers, please rap for the farmers. Rappers, please rap for the farmers a little bit. Rappers, please rap for the farmers, the butchers, the truckers, the doctors, the nurses, the grocery store clerks. Rappers, please rap for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the grocery store clerks. Rappers, please rap for the butchers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, all involved in the chopping of the food. Food, man. Food security starts with the farmers, and saluting all the firefighters now. Hope they're well, and they make some. If y'all don't love our firefighters, send them to me. I got kisses, hugs, rock and roll for them, and can say no to all that. But kisses I got by the trillions of kisses, lots of push-ups. I fight my own battles, but first Donald Trump, still challenging Donald Trump, and because of those tariffs on Canadian steel. And as I was born in the USA twice post 1776, read George Patton's poem. Troy Glass, darkly one of my favorite poems, and I've written many poems. And of course, I had many flashes of past lives incarnations as I've been on the mountain, seeing the hawks and the sunlight flashing with the sun and the moon and stars. Past incarnations today, 2024, 1904, whatever the number one, number year one, year zero is for you. Let's start. We need a great North American reset, and of course, NATO, NORAD, go NATO, go NATO, NATO, go NATO, go all the way. And of course, I'm auctioning the boots, which I march more than all the generals of NATO combined in those boots. I gotta say that's on my new CV. I marched in those boots more than the generals of NATO combined. The boots, I have proof of work, hundreds of workout videos, hundreds of marching videos, vlog a little bit of sometimes rock and roll. Aspies. Sometimes some things were direct and straightforward. Sometimes we offer things which is kind of weird. Don't mean to be offensive and whatever have you, but that's part of Asperger's, having that condition, neurological condition. Sometimes we're too straightforward, or we ask kind of questions, and we have the compassionate side, and the emotional side. We like to offer concrete things. Like we like to offer something which might relieve if you're sore or whatever. If you're hungry, we might offer food. If you feet hurt, we might offer foot massage. So that's instead of like the verbal consolations, instead of verbal consolation, people with Asperger's will offer something in more that will kind of help alleviate whatever, or help in a more practical, physical, or psychological manner, whatever the case may be. Sexual, whatever the case by case. As an individual, we strive to have harmony, balance, and equilibrium with the collective. Now I gotta think about all the farmers, all who deliver food now. Thank you for the food deliveries, to all the citizens, those who are baking pizzas, making hamburgers in the fast food joints, the restaurants, the cleaning workers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, all those train conductors across North America. Gotta salute on that choo-choo train with the grains, all the goods going east, west, north, south, truckers and trains, and in 24/7, 24/7 rock and roll for them as well. And I'm a pro labor and love, universal revolutionary centrist who's not perfect, far from it. I'm for myself and for others. I really came to this place with nothing. I left a moldy place, moldy place, and I was sick and ill. And across Canada, coast to coast, I got out. Conquered being depressed and suicidal, conquered being depressed and suicidal, conquered being depressed and suicidal. And of course, I love to go to my second home, Mount Royal. And of course, I'm here on this 2024, in this 17th of May, big long weekend here in Canada, Montreal, and this Canadian Quebecer who was born twice in the past life, served. Both times post 1776 in the United States Army, rock and roll 24/7 for the firefighters. Big yellow V to our firefighters in Alberta. Meditating vigil for them as I start this new CV. I can say, of course, that I've written over the essays, of course, in geopolitical analysis and philosophies, and I always get that rock and roll, written rock and roll songs. Write a new song every day. Now with the sun shines. Firefighters getting out in Alberta. For the Calgary, for the north. Up into Canada, here we go. Get it for the coast to coast. Up in the fishers. Hey, the butchers and the bakers and the nurses and the doctors, they gotta be some gotta loving. Hey, for those cleaning workers, got the sanitation of the city. Garbage collectors picking up for the public sanitation. Gotta give it somebody gotta love it. For the butchers and the bakers and those cooking up some dough. Those who dancing, here we go. For the north and for the south and for the stars and for the loud. For the loud and for the loud. What they baking in the oven? They baking some of that good crustin' me some lovin'. Up in the sugar, then I put it in the coffee. Coffee makers with no trouble. Hey, they gotta get that double trouble. Get it for the rainbow dragon rock and roll. Up in the sea, up in let's go. For the freestyle on the way. For the freestyle on the hay. For the freestyle up in day. For the who's the rainbow up in hey. Up in hey, yeah. They Alberta on the day, Alberta on the say, on the Western Canada, wildfighters, here we go. Firefighters, here we rockin' that road, on the rockin' that road, and they get it, here we go. And they got truckers, and they got beef, and they got beef, and they got wheat. And they got wheat and they got barley. Somebody gotta see for the bread and see. For the milk and for the honey. For the butcher, for the construction workers on the cranes. Cranes being up and down changing those lanes. Highways and the trucks. Aqueducts in the public. Workers gotta be done chopped. They gotta build some more up in the block. Potholes gotta get filled. The potholes for the car. Gotta safe live in North America. Yeah, I got some scars. Yeah, I got cars. I'm gonna pothole. For I got some scars. Yeah, I got some scars. Got a pothole for the North America. Yeah, I play Rainbow Dragon and again. Hey, so we're gonna see it with a coffee. We're gonna see it with a loving. We're gonna see it for the truckers. Yep. Vigil for the firefighters. New CV. Artist, athlete, philosopher. Marched more than all the generals of NATO combined. And I gotta say to my brother Bill Blair. We're gonna shed a little bit of the formalities, citizen dragon here, and gonna say we're gonna put up your protocol for NATO, NATO troops. If you put an army salute, RCA, FCF, Canadian Armed Forces, big salute, drop down, give Rainbow Dragon 10 push-ups with LOV, and we're gonna say a little bit of that XYZ to the east and to the north. That's the north, that's the east, that's the west, and the back of me is the south. But we gotta put a little bit of that protocol, change some diapers in the daycares, or read some children's books, because who are we gonna put a uniform for if not 40 plus million here of Canadians, Quebecers, where we made the great linguistic compromise of the French language. I'm going to switch in that French in a bit because we in La Belle Province, Quebec. And it reminds me always when I say La Belle Province, and many past lives, many incarnations. I was born, of course, here between 1635 and 1904 as a man and as a woman. Sometimes I was born a man and as a woman. Now you get that 50-50. You get that androgynous 50-50. Gotta play that rainbow X. Why is that? Give me some push-ups. Here we go. And the dancing is my favorite sport. Always grateful, thankful, and implement the protocols as a philosopher. The dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, my dream. For the public-private partnership with Rock&Roll 24/7. Let's go some of that. Hips. Shake it out over the hips. Do some cheerleader for the firefighters. Some cheerleader for the firefighters. Cheerleading for the firefighters in Alberta. Hoping to get some good news at 10. Gonna watch that news at 10 and gonna meditate, philosophize, and I'm gonna discuss some geopolitics. Because I'm an independent geopolitical analyst and Pearson on my new CV. Artist, athlete, philosopher, world's greatest living dancing millennial rainbow poets, fundamentally to sum it all up, and a mystic, universal spiritual teaching student, because I'm learning every day so many things about spirituality I don't know. I do want to build 3 buildings. Anybody want to help? I build 3 buildings, only 3. I will, WIL, to build the House of the Dragon. I need simple, austere, severe, pyramid, scarlet, crimson, red, crimson, basically crimson and red and scarlet. Scarlet is a shade of red, my favorite color, I want to build the House of the Dragon. I only need 3 rooms. Kitchen, bathroom with a bathtub, and of course sleeping quarters, bathroom with a bathtub, sleeping quarters, bathroom with a bathtub, sleeping quarters, bathroom with a bathtub, a bathroom with a bathtub, and of course all I need is those sleeping quarters, this pyramid, that's what I need. And Mount Royal, and of course the Forgotten Goddess Temple, the Forgotten Goddess Temple, the Forgotten Goddess Temple, the Forgotten Goddess Temple. That's what I want to build. If I want to build something before I live, XYZ, when I go, a temple, 7 stories, like in a circular manner. Forgotten Goddess, G-O-D-D-S-S, G-O-D-D-S-S. Forgotten Goddess Temple. I got already written the poetry, the Rock&Roll for full moon rituals, new moon rituals, equinoxes, celebratory dancing and poetry and hugging and whatever have you. Dances. Dancing is the main ritual act, as a main ritual activity, dancing and Forgotten Goddess Temple. For that DGA, for the future 21st century DGA, Dancing Goddess Army. I lay the kisses, trillions of kisses I got credited from the Forgotten Goddess. And I'm laying the foundations for those buildings along with the Rainbow People's Palace, the Rainbow People's Palace, and of course the Forgotten Goddess Temple and the House of the Dragon. First and foremost, builders, construction workers, credit you. Whoever wants to build. First and foremost, 718 trillions. A trillion is 1,000 billion, a trillion is 1,000 billion, a trillion kisses credited from the Forgotten Goddess. So I can make all my allies and armies kiss trillionaires. KISS, I got kisses, hugs, tickles, Rock&Roll that I got. Money, I'm 10,500 in debt, but I Can rock and roll, do some push-ups, dancing. I can dance for hours. That's my favorite sport. Some people play XYZ. Although I love sports. I love women's hockey, love women's basketball, women's sports leagues. I would definitely finance being 50-50 myself, Get that DGA to be for everybody. Dancing Goddess Army, it's a DGA integrated, LGBTQ integrated, and, cooperative more than competitive, cooperative of course on issues of environmental cleaning. It takes some doing, and thinking too. We've got a lot of cleaning to do, forests and oceans and blah 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 blah, mass financing, blah 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 blah. But grateful, thankful, farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store techs, LOV. And now we're going to discuss some geopolitics, because I'm an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist, and you enter my kingdom, my realm, when you discuss geopolitics. Today is geopolitics, and yesterday's, even today and tomorrow's. The meeting, second meeting in 2 years, between the leader of the Federation of Russia, Vladimir Putin, has met Xi Jinping. Now, whatever I say, as an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist and philosopher, North American philosopher, North American geopolitical analyst and theorist, North American artist. As a North American, fundamentally in my core, I am North American, Canadian, Quebecer. For world peace, universal heart in my heart, can be universal. Try to be universal as much as I can, but fundamentally, in essence, I am a North American, Quebecer, Canadian, Montreal, Quebec, Canadian. Personally, I do not consider myself a member of a diaspora. I personally do not consider myself a member of a diaspora. I do not consider myself personally a member of a diaspora. I try to be a world citizen, but my experiences everywhere in North America, fundamentally, as much as I'm self-educated and the news analysis, and I listen to a lot of international news from other countries, and I try to get a fresh ideas and be open-hearted, but fundamentally I'm a North American, with my philosophies and theories are for the collective North American civilization to be implemented first and foremost in North America. The dream for the public-private partnership to create a new currency in North America, like they did in the European Union, where decades ago they created the ECB, the European Central Bank. It's time for North America to, back in the 21st century, and yes, we can, in a public-private partnership, we can and we must. The geopolitical situation demands it and requested. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, island of Montreal. LOV, make LOV tonight with consent, make LOV tonight. Anyways, they met, they discussed, they enriched their military economic alliance, and of course, they have their shared interests. And whatever I say, deep, profound analysis, and whether I believe they're autocratic or non-democratic, at the end of the day, my brothers and sisters, it doesn't really matter. Because Vladimir Putin is the leader of Russia and the Russian armed forces. Xi Jinping is the chairman and the leader of the People's Republic of China and the People's Liberation Army. Just a financially struggling piece of dust. I lust, LUST. I bring me some joy to go to the mountains, see people hugging, blah blah blah, and hug and kiss, and it's all good. My children here, I watch them like a hawk, HAWK, and I love to our youth. I want them secured coast to coast, ocean to ocean, to build North American Hawk Defense Initiative, North American Hawk for the skies, and the Northern Scorpio for the ground, because we got Scorpios. One scorpion called the Northern Scorpion. The Northern Scorpio. There's a Scorpio comes all the way to Canada in Alberta. It's called the Northern Scorpio. From Mexico to the U.S. and Canada, it comes all the way in the prairies, Saskatchewan and Alberta and British Columbia. The Northern Scorpio. So that I started writing, of course, during COVID. About 3 years and a half ago, I started working on that. This is to be, of course, with not to be too much discussed online, but as somebody who has an open certificate for the cooperative of certain security matters with CSIS, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, CSIS, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and like I said, no need to spy on me. That's why I put a lot of my things in the open online, because I don't want the secret services of China to be able to have anything against me in any matters like that, or secret service of Russia, Stasi's, KGB, Mossad, whatever the case may be. Tiny hands, small feet. I'm a nobody. I'm a piece of dust. I'm just a dancer, philosopher, geopolitical analyst, and theorist, financially struggling, who suffered struggle. He's Asperger's, but Geopolitics. You enter my kingdom, my realm, my domain. And I've predicted, not as a prophecy, not as a, I predicted based on analysis, and that's my obsession as an Asperger. Geopolitics 24/7 for more than 7 years. Geopolitics study and analysis on the daily in the libraries, and by myself, and reading, writing essays about North American civilizational complex, about theories about geopolitics. So that's my kingdom, that's my realm. So no matter what I say, whether I believe China is XYZ or that, what can I say? I don't know all the 1.4 billion Chinese. I never been really in China in this life. I wish we could reconcile for the peace continuing, but now maybe it's too late. Maybe as I speak, 9:33, maybe the PLA People's Liberation Army has already invaded and launched an invasion, or launched whatever case may be, an embargo, or whatever the case may be, with Taiwan. Taiwan is known as the People's, as the Republic of China. Mainland China is known as the People's Republic of China, founded by Mao. As I say, I'm laying the foundations for North American Democratic Republic with kisses first and foremost. Then trillions of push-ups, trillions of marching steps, lots of hugs, lots of appreciation for the construction workers, butchers, bakers, firefighters, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, rock and roll for them 24/7, blah, blah, blah. And of course, Chinese leadership, Chinese Communist Party, and Xi Jinping at the helm since 2012 or so. They're building whatever I say, analyze XYZ, where I agree with X, doesn't matter at the end of the day. Xi Jinping's leaders of People's Republic of China. And they're building, and they will continue to build, and they will defend building what they call the socialist, the socialist spiritual civilization. It's in, and if you want to understand a little bit and have a geopolitical discussion about China, you have to read The Governance of China. There's 4 volumes, and that's Xi Jinping's, mainly Xi Jinping's. It's called The Governance of China. If you want to have a discussion on China and I ask you about the governance of China and you don't know about it, then I'm going to say, well, look it up and come back to me in 48 hours, in 72 hours, and let me know if you read a little bit of the first chapter, a little bit of the second chapter, third chapter, fourth chapter. No need to keylog and spy on me and block my live streaming. It's not threats. It's nothing to do with the sort. I'm just a piece of dust, a geopolitical honest and theorist, and rainbow dragon. You know, I'm flawed. I'm a piece of dust, nobody. Just somebody who likes to see people holding hands in the street and likes to build satellite supercomputers and get defense coast to coast North America, so that we have the continuity of the North American civilizational complex for the youth, free liberty, blah blah blah. A little bit of less selfish, you know, Wall Street billionaires. If you have money, finance people to do, and secure food, housing, and transport. Now back to geopolitics, my realm, my kingdom. So the geopolitical analysis and theory, no matter what I say, like I said, no matter what I say, whatever I say, at the end of the day, we have to understand China. We have to read, study Governance of China. Governance of China. 4 volumes. Spread over more than 7 years, from 2012, 12 years, until recently, last year. 11 years or so, whatever the case may be. They were published in different sequences, different years. I still have to revise. But the Governance of China is also available as an audiobook. So you have to get acquainted with that. To understand Xi Jinping, to understand me, my philosophies, you have to listen to my videos, not the rap videos, not the rock and roll. Well, rock and roll, yeah. The rap videos is for the workers, for the butchers, bakers, nurses, construction workers, those picking up the garbage. That kind of rap, you know. Anyways, I love rap. I'm a hobby rapper. I can always rap a little bit for the rap. Back to geopolitics, my kingdom, my domain. Whatever I say, Xi Jinping's and the People's Liberation of Army and the Communist Party of China, until otherwise changing or whatever have you, in policies, in protocols, in ideology, they're officially still Marxist-Leninist, right? In The Governance of China, written by mostly Xi Jinping, the current leader of China, to understand Xi Jinping's vision and leadership, his drive toward what they call Xi Jinping and the Communist Party of China, to build a spiritual socialist civilization. They're building a spiritual socialist civilization. Now, That's the translation in English. But how do we relate to those words? Myself as a North American, trying to understand the deep what it means for the people of China, for Chinese citizens, and for Xi Jinping and for the Communist Party. Perhaps it's not 100% how I understand it. A socialist, spiritual civilization. Because knowing Karl Marx, and I've studied a little bit of Karl Marx, I got a headache after reading Das Kapital about 8 years ago, 7+ years ago. I read a little bit of Das Kapital in the libraries, and I got a headache. And I said, I'll try it again next week, and try it again. I got a headache and headache and headache. And I said, oh, what kind of linguistics is this? Maybe be mistranslated from German. Anyways, but nonetheless, I'm a centrist philosopher, and I believe strongly in helping the needy, the poor. I needed it. I was there, the welfare, welfare, welfare for the less fortunate, have less money, and for the workers, for the workers, for the workers. But of course, to secure, not to the detriment of the individual, and not the individual to be to the detriment of the collective. So to have the balance and the harmony and the equilibrium, which is hard in the 21st century, that's the public-private partnership, my dream, where we have to work on that. That's one of my Trinity of theories, I believe, brings some balance, harmony, and equilibrium to the current system. Just a bit. I don't have all the answers. I'm just a piece of dust. Just a nobody, really. That's why I said, like my BDSM, no need to spy on me, Secret Services of China. But nonetheless, Xi Jinping's The Governance of China, Governance of China. That's what you got to read. That's what you got to study to understand China. To understand China, to understand China, to understand China. Understanding what they're building, what it's called, the translation at least, in English, the spiritual socialist civilization, of course, the communist, going towards communism. Spiritual, the word spiritual is there. Spiritual socialist civilization. Now, you would see, if you study a little bit of socialism and dialectical materialism, class war, dialectical materialism, it was a little bit against religion, right? Karl Marx writing was very more prone to atheistic, atheistic, protheistic. Now I believe in a higher power myself. I am a mystic. I do say the word also goddess, G-O-D-D-S-S, but there are a lot of things I do not know. The sun is my Pope the King, the sun is my Pope the King, the sun is my Pope. The moon, well, sometimes I howl down rock and roll for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, carpenters and electricians and painters, and of course grocery store clerks, and of course those garbage collectors, public sanitation workers, those picking up the garbage, of course cleaning the cities now, and of course ambulance drivers, firefighters. Somebody got to rock and roll for the public security also. Somebody got public security also. My brothers and sisters who are incarcerated. Well, I believe my North American citizen integrated criminal rehabilitation initiative is the way to move forward. Now where we are, geopolitics perhaps is the only way, as is demanded. It's needed at this point in time where we are geopolitically and everything that's happening in the world. So Russia is led by Putin, and that was the event of him being inaugurated and him being re-elected, the geopolitical event of major importance in geopolitics, his re-election. Whether it was sham or not, this doesn't matter. I mean, it matters from a moral, ethical perspective. It does. But nonetheless, myself as a North American, I'm a North American Canadian Quebecer with my own vision, my own call to all. My own call to all willingly living, to all willingly living, to all willingly living. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, blah, blah, blah. Putin's army and invasion of Ukraine, terrible, tried more than 70 years, not a war like that. Right? Not a war like that. Not a war like that. Their meeting has solidified and based on previous meetings. They're signed, whatever they signed, the agreements, military, economic cooperation, and they have whatever I say and analyze, they have the vested cooperative interests. Whether we just simplify it and say Russia and Ukraine and China, People's Republic of China, in the Republic of China, which is Taiwan, is known as the Republic of China, right? The reunification, they have never given up on the reunification. Just like I call for the unification in the public-private partnership, Democratic Republic of North America, right? That's how they see unification. But us, here North Americans, were a diverse, multi-plural, and linguistic, new, emerging civilizational complex, because we are new civilizational complex here in North America, Central America, and South America, in the Americas, basically in the Americas, the whole Americas, right? Basically North America, speaking as a North American, but nonetheless it's an emergent, and North American complex civilizational complex, as I say as a philosopher, is not totally divorced, but is distinct from Western civilization. So we're not divorced from Western civilization, but we have the distinction, the infrastructure, the cultural, sports, magnetism, and what have you, which I've written and I've dictated online. Back to China. To understand, you have to know, to understand, to read a bit, at least one of the 4 volumes, or a little bit of each, of the governance of China. The governance of China. The governance of China is a must. If you enter the realm of geopolitics, my kingdom, my domain, and you speak about China, I'm going to ask you about the governance of China. And if you if you don't know about it, well, I'm going to say, listen, come back to me in 24 hours, 48 hours, 7 days, maybe Messiah will come. I salute Messiah from Montreal, Hawk Island. Tell him to come dance on the mountain. Tell him to come dance on the mountain, whatever the case may be. Well, peace, whatever the case may be, XYZ. Just a financially struggling artist, athlete, philosopher, who wills for world peace, but is right here in Montreal, Hawk Island, HUAD, trying to get that 93, 93, 93, blah, 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 blah. And China is ruled by those principles in the governance of China. And Xi Jinping had laid the plans for China. And like I remember a few years ago, said that if anybody tries to interfere, that will have great, powerful, strong words of Xi Jinping, quote, have their heads smashed against the great wall of steel that the Chinese people built. That the Chinese people built. By the 1.4 billion Chinese, Han-Chinese. So, ethnic identification. I'm a North American, what do I know? I know a little bit, but I know that they're working towards their socialist, spiritual civilization in China, just like I'm willing to work for the continuing harmony, peace within Quebec, the linguistic, cultural, Quebec within Canada and within North America, my brothers and sisters down south. I was an American born twice in the USA. Previous incarnation, read George Patton's Through a Glass Darkly, read George Patton's Through a Glass Darkly, read George Patton's Through a Glass Darkly. Post 1776, I served twice in the United States Army. Right? I served twice. And we have aggression. We are very diverse. My black brothers and sisters who are 13.3, 13.4% of the population. You know, we made it so far together. Let's continue. Let's do our better, you know. If I can offer something to my black brothers and sisters, the Lord and blah, 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 anti-race, well, kisses and hugs first. If you say no to that, it's okay. I can sing some rock and roll. And, you know, I don't have money, but if I would have money, I would definitely buy some cheerleading and sports and dancing of that manner, but I do not at the moment, but I can only offer the blah, blah, blah at the moment, but also some rock and roll and some art and some whatever have you. But we're North Americans. So in geopolitics, when you enter my realm, my domain now is the analysis of today, since yesterday also is Vladimir Putin, and of course the meeting between China's leader, Xi Jinping, in China, and Vladimir Putin. Whatever they signed, they discussed, I'm going to have to analyze and revise and look at it a little closely. But they have the main interest to defend. They have a border to defend, and they have their interest. Russia has its interest there, the Russian Federation, of course, and China has the interest of its development. And whatever I say, doesn't matter that some statistics, because it's not only emotional and feeling, some statistics have forced that China was able to build massive infrastructure, mega cities, and they've risen since 1977, more than 44 years, to build, to have so much agriculture produced, and mass urbanization, mass infrastructure, mega cities, and top ports, and top airports, and metro systems, and subway systems, and infrastructure, and rate trade. They were able to build. Now, forget, I'm not going to say communism, I agree, I don't disagree, it doesn't matter. I'm not right-wing, I'm not left-wing, I'm not socialist, I'm not fascist. I'm a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist. Pro-labor and love universal revolutionary. My centrism, my public-private partnership centrism, is tied hand in hand with my philosophies, my trinity of theories, which I've dictated online and will continue to discuss in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead. Just as Xi Jinping's vision for People's Republic of China, founded by Mao Zedong, is laid in the governance of China, right? He laid that in the governance of China, and I'm laying it in an oral communicative manner right now in this live Facebook stream, right? And of course, I've written many essays on North America, on NATO, on NORAD, on philosophy, on geopolitics, on many topics, mostly geopolitics, society, and philosophy, and on fitness as well. On my fitness journey, I've created my own workout training program system, but that essay was short, and I created a great fitness program which requires no equipment, blah 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 blah, and it's time for the mass financing of citizens to work out, train, exercise, blah 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 blah. It's time for the mass financing of citizens to work out, to train, to exercise. It's time to mass finance fitness. NFL, let's go NFL, and NHL, NBA, let's go NFL, NHL, NBA, National Basketball League, NFL, National Football League, NHL, hockey. Please, millionaires, billionaires, owners, finance women's sports leagues and finance the DGA Dancing Goddess Army. And it's time for a public-private partnership to finance citizens' fitness with a healthcare system, blah, 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 blah. Universities, it's time. Anyways, so this meeting between Xi Jinping and Putin lays another path towards their increased collaboration. To sum it up in a general manner, their increasing collaboration, their increased collaboration in the matters of security, business, military, and trade, economic. The oil, whatever the case may be, could be some arms as well. It could be something secret, arms, right? Weapons, it can be military, exports, and oil, right? Oil, because Russia has a lot of natural gas and oil. Russia has a lot of natural gas. Top 10, 7, 8, 6, maybe even more. The top 10, maybe in the top 5 of natural oil, natural gas is in the top 5 for sure, natural gas, but oil reserves as well. I think Canada with the tar sands were actually first, but of course there's difficulty in that, and we try to move on. Myself, I'm very pro-environmental, but it's always some things to reach more balance and harmony and equilibrium, because we have to replace, right, industries, and we have to replace workers, and we have to get activities to do, because sometimes it takes the doing, because we have to channel that energies, sublimate and channel aggression. Myself, I have aggression. I do have it. My brothers and sisters, I work out, I train, I exercise, I channel it. I channel and sublimate to harmony. It's super important to channel. So I'm channeling NFL, National Football League, in sports, basketball. It's also channeling in sports and activities that makes us sweat a bit, rather than killing each other. And when it's time to unite, North Americans unite, North Americans unite, North Americans unite, and use it, channel it and sublimate it. We get anger, we get frustrated. I've been frustrated, and now I'm just financially stressed. I still get moody sometimes, still feel like sleeping one more hour, but then I think about the farmers, butchers, and those picking up the garbage, the recycling, and I get up and I rock and roll and I do what I do, geopolitical analysis and theorizing, and geopolitical analysis and theorizing, rock and roll, and workout, train, exercise, and go to the mountain, because Aspies, Asperger's, I've set myself quite a routine, and it can be very intense. So I don't mind necessary to change it a little bit, but as much as I keep a little bit of my geopolitical analysis and theorizing, and my sports fitness and dancing, well, also to be able to be open for business as I am as an independent artist and athlete. Read Governance of China. When you enter my kingdom, my domain, and want to discuss geopolitics, you haven't even heard about it, I will say, well, you gotta check it out and come back to me in 7 years or whatever. Not 7 years, but 7 hours maybe. You're a fast reader, fast learner, whatever. You have archangels, whatever the case may be. But they met and they laid out the concrete for the new development, of their further collaboration, and they laid more cornerstones and signed more agreements. So that is a major geopolitical event of today, of this week, of course. And another was the inauguration of the fifth term of Putin's fifth term. Now Xi Jinping, they have another system, of course, but he's been in power since, from my best of understanding, now 2012. So it's going on 12 years now, Xi Jinping, that he's in the chairman, right? Because his official title, how it's structured, but he's also the leader of the armed forces, and basically a more, I could use the words, I guess, a more centralized system. I was going to choose centralized or authoritarian, but authoritarian is, again, from our Western perspective, because maybe the meaning of authoritarian, when we say, maybe do we have, as a North American Western society, we maybe have a more negative connotation, right? Where perhaps what's authoritarian, and you got a problem with authority, don't you? You got a problem with authority, don't you? We got a problem with authority, don't you? Well, my brothers and sisters, armed forces, like I always say, we cannot base all our actions on force and strength. We have to have understanding. We have to have love. We have to have understanding and love. We have to have understanding and love. Because if we don't have understanding and love, when we base everything on raw force and brute force and strength, it doesn't work. It's not. Civilization and nature and all the things which we have, emotions and feelings and art and culture, we cannot just be brute force and strength. It is required. Firefighters now are moving and holding the the water, and salvaging and loading up the trucks and loading up the docks and putting up, going on those cranes to build buildings, social housing, whatever have you respect. LOV to our construction workers with cranes, and steel and cement. It takes some brains and it takes some muscle. But we cannot base everything or only our leadership and our political system just on strength and brute force and violence. No, we have to have a multiplicity of dimensions, of energies, of competencies, of diversity in the action, of course, right? We have to, right? So we cannot base everything on strength. But when it comes to defense, national defense, we have to get mobile, Dragon Army, mobile, North American integrated, get that Hawk, North American Hawk, Skyhawk Defense Initiative, North American Skyhawk Defense Initiative, North American Skyhawk Defense Initiative, and on the ground, Northern Scorpio Defense Initiative, Northern Scorpio Defense Initiative. We need to build big trucks, about 300 mobile trucks, be able to hold 300 people inside and be able to deliver food, and whatever necessities in case of whatever case may be, radiation, or whatever case may be, for the 21st century. Defense, mobile and defense coast to coast, intercepting, be able to intercept capabilities of intercepting intercontinental ballistic missiles, to be able to intercept intercontinental ballistic missiles, to be able to intercept intercontinental ballistic missiles. That's the Septennium, part of the defense. Septennium for the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, the protocols, the public-private partnership. That is part of the initiative. It has to be done. You see me marching for years. I've discussed it, many of them, especially during COVID. As you see hundreds of videos on my YouTube. Well, I'm working with a laptop, so it's not the best quality, but sometimes you got to work with the tools you're given, and you have the body, you have the mind, you have XYZ, and you can be of service for security and service for security and service for security and service 21st century. Xi Jinping is the leader of China, Putin is the leader of Russia. They have their interests. Now, whether, of course, for the end of the day, today, it doesn't matter if I hold an opinion really on Taiwan, known as the people's, known as the Republic of China. Taiwan is known as the Republic of China. Taiwan is known as the Republic of China. Right? It doesn't try to dissociate or dissect that whatever my personal opinions are. It's not when I do geopolitical analysis and theorizing, it is mainly for the collective North American civilization interests of North America, for the interests of North America as a North American. So yes, for myself as an individual, part of a collective, North America, for world peace, universal, but we see where it has been heading since COVID, since more than that, towards geopolitical regionalization and new treaties and rearrangement, and quite at the end of globalization in many ways, right? At the end of globalization, many ways, the end of globalization. I predicted this back in 2019. I have proof of work. I predicted it. Back then, I did an in-depth geopolitical analysis, and I predicted an international conflagration and a potential, basically a World War III scenario, an international conflagration. In other words, a World War III type of scenario back in 2019. Now, tiny hands, tiny feet, just a piece of dust, nobody singing rock and roll. Wanted to see some of that good, loving, make good LOV tonight is the main message, blah, blah, blah. And grateful, thankful farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks. But we gotta take action to defend for the youth here of North America, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, blah blah blah, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, blah blah blah. Mobile trains intersection with trains and mobile defense and reconstruction and rebuilding and building more of the big, what I call the big Dragon trucks and big trucks to be able to be mobile across North America for defense, security, and service, for defense, security, and service, for defense, security, and service. So I'm calling for the DRT debt refusion to the implementation of the DRT debt refusion via NORAD NATO Dragon Initiative, NORAD NATO Dragon Initiative, blah 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 blah. North American Dragon NORAD Initiative is a philosopher. But back to China and Xi Jinping, they have taken a step further in making geopolitical regional alliance and geopolitical regional alliance, right? Eastern European Asian alliance, right? It's big population and big. Russia's the biggest country in the world in terms of the space, the geography. Russia has 14 time zones, right? Russia, Federation of Russia has 14 time zones. The Federation of Russia has 14 time zones. So, analyzing Putin's speeches for years, his speeches, his discourses, with the best of the ability of the translation, of course, with the best of the ability of the translation, being the best of the ability of the translation, and sometimes they're going to say, in our opinion, the translation are correct. And again, from my understanding, as a philosopher, geopolitical analyst, who's Montrealer, North American, Canadian, Quebecer, to the best of my abilities. Still, doesn't matter at the end of the day what I personally think, whatever moral, ethical objections I have to Xi Jinping's ideology or rulership, at the end of the day, is Xi Jinping's leading of the People's Republic of China. Russia, Putin, Vladimir Putin, whether I call him XYZ or names or whatever my personal opinion is about the ideology of Putin, I never lived in Russia, never lived in China. So, as a North American geopolitical analyst and philosopher, with the interests of North America, as a North American, who has to work, I have to work on my racism, I have to work on my XYZ, I have to work on my Asperger's, but I'm willing to. My black brothers and sisters, brown and North Americans, who live here with us, who come from all over the world to live here in North America, to be the good citizens to the best of my ability, to do the best of my ability as a citizen, who's not perfect, far from it, who's rock and roll, who fights his own battle. First Donald Trump, boxing Donald Trump, Tyson Fury versus Usyk tomorrow. I love boxing, but I'm willing to fight Tyson Fury. The winner between Usyk and Fury, the winner. Fury loses, but Donald Trump first, and then I fight my own battles. You can stand in line. You can stand in line. I fight my own battles. You can stand in line. I got the red gloves gifted from an anonymous friend who deserves to be 7 times number after 6, following 6, coming after 6 is 7 before 8, 7 times richer than all promise. Swifty, love you, Taylor Swift. I love it, Taylor Swift. Gotta get a rainbow dragon, got a swift. Hey, rock and roll dance. I'm a Swiftie. And Beyonce got love, but they give some charity, finance some women's sports leagues, finance the DJ, and help this rainbow philosopher build the forgotten goddess temple. So, anyways, so China and Russia have to analyze more what the concrete agreements, what exactly is the plan, because what I call for the 7 years, the coming 7 years, is called the Dragan Septennium, part of the public-private partnership call to the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, to all willingly loving, pledge your allegiance, to our families, the rock and roll song 24/7, blah 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 blah. But nonetheless, Xi Jinping is the leader of China, People's Republic of China. No matter what I say, I analyze whether I agree with the direction when they are officially still Marxist-Leninist. Even Xi Jinping's dialogues and discourses and the governance of China discusses Marxism-Leninism, what they call socialism with Chinese characteristics, and the opening up of China to the West to do trade, business, and commerce in 1978, from 1978. And they were pretty straightforward with us. I gotta say, from what I know, XYZ, whatever the case may be. And now we're having a lot of different problems in the past years, whatever, spying and XYZ, TikTok. I'm not going to go into an analysis of those matters, but it's possible. Knowing a little bit about technology, it's possible. Of course, the interception of all byway communications by a third party, interception of a third party by a byway communication, whatever the case may be, it's possible. But in theory, it's possible. In practice, whatever the case may be. But with China, they're building these socialists. They try to build their socialist civilization, spiritual civilization. And they always kind of said, yes, we'll do business, we'll do trade, we'll engage in commerce with you, the West, Canada, United States, Western world, Europe, Canada, United States, Europe, but you do not interfere in our internal domestic affairs. In our internal domestic affairs is the People's Republic of China, ruled by the Communist Party of China, the CPP, Communist Party of China, CPC, Communist Party of China. Well, later powered by Mao Zedong, right? So that was kind of the deal since the beginning, right? Now, who interferes in where? In Canada, we had a lot of things with the CCSR, CMPCs about foreign police stations, and I've started about again 7 years ago or so, a matter relating to NORAD, NATO countries, formation of something about to do with citizen integrated security in terms of relation of non-NATO countries diaspora members, non-NATO countries diaspora members, non-NATO countries diaspora members. There's another part of my philosophies and essays which I have on USB keys and written. I still cleaning it every day. I found on different USB keys where I've written my philosophies, my geopolitics, my geopolitical analysis. Because I'm an Aspie philosopher, and geopolitics is my kingdom, my domain, and dancing as well. So Russia, Putin, and Xi Jinping's China, they met again the past what, 30, 44 months or so, 44 months, 44. In the past years during COVID, second meeting during COVID. Let's say because now COVID is kind of ending, and we're beginning fresh post-COVID, a little bit post-COVID now, but still some COVID. But I had it, by the way, 2020, 4 years already. So now we're gonna see what comes. What did they agree exactly? Well, we don't know exactly all the details. Some things we might not know. But it might be weapons, might be trade, might be exchange, might be a lot of commerce, might be less tariffs, and if no tariffs at all, then might be some exchanging of goods. It might be some exchanging of knowledge, military equipment, even drones, or whatever the case may be. Oil can be exchanged. XYZ amount of oil, natural gas for weapons with China, XYZ, some dealings, but nonetheless, according to their dictums and their discourses, they enhance their cooperation further. To sum it up, they enhance their collaboration further. And the simplification of the matter is that they have a mutual interest now to be forming a powerful, strong regional alliance, the Russia-China alliance, and they're backing each other. They have a strong interest. So they divest all whatever I say as a citizen of North America who has a moral, ethical opinion about things in the world, but no matter what I say, no matter my personal opinion in what I believe about Putin, Vladimir Putin as a leader, right? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's geopolitics. My personal opinion about Marxism, Leninism, and Xi Jinping, it doesn't matter. It's geopolitics. At the end of the day, Vladimir Putin is the leader of the Russian Secret Service, the FSB, the Russian police forces, the Russian armed forces, right? That's it, that's all. Rock and roll. Xi Jinping is the leader, chairman of the People's Liberation Army, the PLA, the Chinese Internal Security Forces, the Chinese government apparatus. That's it, that's all rock and roll. Me, financially struggling, rainbow, 50-50 androgynous, great, super and excellent geopolitical analyst and theorist. I can go in depth and speculate whatever they discussed and whatever their strategies is, of course, to contain potential regional conflicts or even furthermore. And this I'm going to limit myself due to XYZ, other concerns of a non-important, non-disclosed matter at this point in time, perhaps being sufficient enough to say that they have interest to foment and work on creating internal discourse and internally in North America, in NORAD NATO countries. NORAD being the alliance we have, Canada, US military taking it to blah 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 blah, 21st century step forward. NORAD NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization member countries. Sweden, welcome Sweden, 32nd was going to be the 33rd protocol, blah 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 blah. But nonetheless, they would have vested interest to foment unrest, to foment riots, to foment internal hostilities in North America, by their secret services, whatever case may be. It's possible. I'm not gonna go into a deep analysis because I could, but it's not for the moment be. But it's possible. Hey, it's possible. Our leaders have taken us certain positions, and we have to serve positions. And my position is North American Democratic Republic, public-private partnership, the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, defense, security, and service, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, defense, security, and service, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Yes, for world peace. It doesn't matter whatever I believe about personal opinions in XYZ conflicts or XYZ. I call all to Montreal Hawk Island for reconciliation and a new covenant for the Septennium for harmony, civilization, and nature, harmony between civilization and nature, attain harmony between civilization and nature. But fundamentally, whether I say XYZ and start swearing or whatever, having Putin's whatever, I can call it authoritarian, but is my view of authoritarianism as a North American You got a problem with authority, fella. You got a problem with authority, fella. We gotta have some authority. We gotta have some justice. It cannot be based only and solely on power, force, and strength, or brute force. It cannot be. Not in the free world. Not in the free world. Not in the free world. Not in North America, not in Canada, not in Quebec. We cannot base on strength, force, everything on force. You have to have love, understanding, some sweetness, some kindness, some goodness, some kindness, some goodness, some kindness, some good kissing, some good loving. Not everything to be on brute strength force. My brothers and sisters, it's tough times geopolitically, but North America, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, that's my main proposition. The rest, I wish peace and have my own ideas and theories and call all to the table, but I'm not negotiating. I'm not negotiating with Trump, with my Scorpio brother Joe Biden at the moment, or Bill Gates, or whatever the case may be. I'm just a piece of dust, a great piece of geopolitical dust, though. Great piece of geopolitics is my realm. I can go depth and I can see, okay, XYZ, whatever the case may be, the interest from China, and the fact that in the past years our leaders have taken a position in the US-China trade war, and the tit for tat, whatever have you, and of course the current crisis in Europe, Russia and Ukraine, what Russia calls Specjalne Operacje, the special military operation, which is war. What a different name I give war, military special operation, conflict. Still a terrible thing. In the past more than 77, 75 years in Europe, it's more than 70 years of First, Second World War, you know. But at the end of the day, try to dissect my geopolitical analysis and theories from my individual beliefs, or whatever I believe morally about Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter that. What matters is geopolitical analysis and theory from the interests of North America, as me and myself as a Quebecer, North American Canadian, as an individual in the collective, and where we are heading in the geopolitical realm of international relation, with the possibility of escalation of furthermore escalations, and it's possible that might be a conflict now between the People's Republic of China and the Republic of China, which is Taiwan. For all I know, it could be now another big event within the Chinese Navy. Chinese Navy has become the first Navy. They have the most ships now. That's a geopolitics one-on-one, geopolitical reality. It's a geopolitical reality now. How are we going to implement the DRT, build more ships, coast-to-coast defense, Project Hawk, blah, 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 blah. Like I was discussing with a fellow just now, and fellow Quebecer, I'm gonna call him my cousin here, my family of Canada, North American family. Oh, who will pledge your allegiance to our family, blah blah blah. Oh, who will pledge your allegiance to our family, blah blah blah. Oh, who will willingly pledge your allegiance to our family. But I was discussing in the this how I would have proposed as a leader, of course, to open up some mountains in North America, to build bunkers, and put some of these, put cans for that can last. See this one? It says best before 2029, 2021. See. Best before 2029, best before 2029, best before 2029, best before 2029, right? Best before 2029. So that is 5 years from now. But of course, we can extend the shelf life by 2 years, because it's not the expiry date, it is best before, best before, best before. So best before date is not the expiry date. Best before is not the expiry date. There's difference. There's a difference there. Best before date, still best before 5 years from now. 5 years still good. 2029. We need to put more, but it's gonna be good until 2031. So 7 years for the Septennium, right? But of course, it is of course a thing which we gotta do, maybe. And I say maybe, but of course it will be because of nuclear war. Can we open up some mountains? I think we can mobilize. We can do it. Just like we did with Hydro-Quebec, build more dams and open up some mountains deep, put a lot of bunkers, put a lot of food, and put a lot of shelter, in a Cheyenne Mountain, the Cheyenne Mountain, like in NORAD, but multiplied in the past, in coming 7 years, I'm sure that we can. I was discussing with this fellow. This fellow was, yeah, he's like, I'm willing to put some work on some cement, and do some volunteering for that. Like, yes, for the continuity of North American civilizational complex, for the continuity of the civilization of North American complex, for the continuity of the North American civilizational complex, right? We could. We got a lot of mountains. We can open them up, and we can build inside and down and out. A public-private partnership with the DRT that referring to for the creation of the UE. We could. It starts today with me and you putting that the protocol, right? I'm sure if you can mobilize, we definitely can build and deep in the concrete and build, open them up, In a few years, we're gonna be able. A few mountains. The Quebecers here will build Hydro-Quebec construction workers. If we can, we can. To continue in case of a nuclear war, in case of nuclear, in case of nuclear war, in case of worst case scenario, nuclear war. Starts with me now, putting the idea. I'm willing to massage, wash the feet, give some concrete, go, 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 rock and roll. Can do it. I talked to this fella that I talked today. He was all for it. He listened to my point. He said in good Quebecer, ah mais oui, c'est tabarnak, mais oui, je serais prêt pour en faire du ciment, je vais mettre du ciment moi-même. Something like that. I swore a bit, he swore a bit, but that's okay, you know, I like my swearing in French, but nonetheless. With another citizen I talked on the mountain, well, he wasn't that keen. Oh, he was something keen. Keen was willingly, he has to be by will, willingly love it. I have to defend Canada, Mexico, US. We're 600 million together, 40 million plus Canadians. My brothers and sisters in the USA, 340 million plus Mexico, more than 100 million. All right, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Anyway, Xi Jinping, he's got building their socialist civilization. Whether we like it or not, whether I believe morally, whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Whatever I think my beliefs, they're gonna do what they do. Russia's gonna do what Vladimir Putin and his government is gonna do what they do. Whatever I dissected and analyzed the discourses, communications, and one of the thing that pops into mind now was something about that we in the West we have normalized pedophilia, and I don't know if that was translated a lot, but that we in the West we've normalized pedophilia. That we in the West claim that we have we haven't. It's not normal, and there's laws against. There's laws against, and people need to seek help if they have those impulses and desires. People need to seek some sort of help, whatever the case may be. That was a strange thing which he claimed that we have normalized it in school, and we haven't, and we haven't, and we have laws against, and XYZ. Anyways, another one of the claims that in the West or whatever, from their perspective to his citizens, mobilizing, rallying against NATO and the West, and that the West constitutes an empire of lies, whatever the case may be, empire of lies, in the propaganda. So I've analyzed in the past years, before, I've analyzed before and after the invasion of Ukraine. The invasion of Ukraine. XYZs, YZYs. They have at the end of the day, generally, to sum it all up, they have an interest. They have their interest. And if I can sum it up, their interest is to end, and some say they have successfully done so, to end the multipolar world, the unipolar world dominated by post-Soviet United States, dominated by the post-Soviet United States dominance of the United States, the post-Soviet, what's called the unipolar world in international relations and global politics and geopolitical analysis and geopolitics, the post-Soviet era, the United States dominance in the past 33 years, let's say 33 years of United States dominating in a unipolar world, what's called in politics unipolar world. Basically, uni from Latin, by uni into multipolar world, with Russia and China forming geopolitical alliances in the past, especially during COVID, and in the past 3.5 years, even more and more with BRICS and other. So they have been doing it, and it's a geopolitical regionalization. And fundamentally, I'm a North American. All I really know is the island of Montreal here. My incarnations, flashes of my reincarnations and past lives given on the mountain, mostly when the sun shines after the storm. But I'm a Quebec, Canadian, North America, coast to coast, blah, 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 blah. Fundamentally, as much as I can say moral and what do I know, I never met Putin really to have a discussion. I never met Xi Jinping to have a discussion. I never visited Russia really. In this life, in a past life, I never moved up the ranks, but I served Napoleon for 7+ years. I served under the army of Napoleon. I served as a soldier. I moved a little bit up the ranks, not much, just 3 times, but in 7 years. 7 years. The army of Napoleon. So, anyways, past lives incarnation. Today is 2024, and the sum it up is that they have, some say successfully so, put an end to the unipolar world, and they have replaced it with a multipolar world, meaning that their alliance, Russia-China alliance, has it's they see it as a counterbalance. They see it as a counterbalance to the hegemony, what they call hegemony, the end of the hegemony of the United States. So, and that's their drive. One of the main drives and part of this forming this military economic alliance and furthering more with this meeting that occurred today and yesterday, whatever, 3 day meeting, 3 day Putin going to China, Putin went to China, and last meeting Xi Jinping went to Russia, right? So last time, a few years ago, 2 years ago, so 2 years ago, so more or less, Xi Jinping went to Russia. Xi Jinping, the leader of China, went to Russia, and now Russia, leader Vladimir Putin, went to China. So they're solidified, and they put an end to the what they call the hegemony of the United States. Did they discuss perhaps something about Taiwan, also known as the People's Republic of China? Possibly, 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 possibly. There's a lot to it. I'm just doing a general summary because if I go on, I can go on for hours, 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 and go over and review and speculate, and assume. But again, you have to, my geopolitical analysis and theorizing, you have to dissect it from my personal, moral, ethical opinions about Russia, about Vladimir Putin's Russia. Because Russia, there's 144 million people, so also try to not generalize, try to not generalize, try to not generalize. And China is 1.4 billion people. I try not to generalize from the leadership, from the regime, from their political perspectives, right? So my morality and ethics and my philosophies for North America, as a North American first and foremost, also a well citizen, but I'm a North American with my own flaws and vices and issues and clumsiness and Asperger's and XYZ. So that's gonna sum it up, and of course I want to say my gratitude again. We're gonna switch to that French a little bit because we've been on a rock and roll here a little bit, and it's getting late. And just gonna sing some in French. I'm just gonna sing some songs and rock and roll, and we're gonna wrap it up. Grateful, thankful, rent paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. Go firefighters, firefighters go! And once again, support the public-private partnership call to all willingly loving. It's 10:20, and rest. Gonna have a weekend's coming, and we're gonna get some of that LOV, and we always gotta get that gratitude. It's always important to be grateful, thankful, and to think about all the things which we have in common here. And hopefully somebody hugging, somebody making that good LOV, and make love in the free world. Otherwise, what are we fighting for? Otherwise, what are we fighting for? Fighting for somebody's not hugging with consent and consent, hugging, kissing, dancing. Making LOV. What are we fighting safe for? Civilization for? Fight safe civilization for blah 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 blah. Fight civilization for, make LOV for me also. make LOV for Rainbow Dragon as well. Blah 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 blah. Give to charity if you're a millionaire. Blah blah. Help build the three forgotten goddess temple, forgotten goddess temple, forgotten goddess temple, forgotten goddess temple, forgotten goddess temple. And of course, the House of the Dragon, pyramid, simple, austere, crimson, pyramid, simple, austere, crimson, austere, severe pyramid with 3 rooms, sleeping quarters, bathroom and a bathtub and a kitchen. That's all I need. And of course, with that, of course, the Rainbow People's Palace, for my fellow LGBTQ Rainbow Dragon right here, dependent on Aspie with retrograde amnesia, geopolitical analyst and theorist philosopher. The meeting of Xi Jinping and Putin, to sum it up, are again, they're showing the world that they have put an end to the unipolar world, the hegemony of the United States, and that their alliance is strong, and that they're going to work together to create and form a multipolar world as opposed to a unipolar world, which was the case for more than 33 years post-Soviet Union. So if I can sum up the meeting between Xi Jinping and Putin, that was kind of what it was about. Whatever my morality, ethics regarding Vladimir Putin's Russia and Xi Jinping's China forget about that. It's just analyzing geopolitical affairs and matters and geopolitical analysis and theory from a North American's perspective as a North American Canadian who calls for the here for the public-private partnership across North American civilizational complex. On va changer en français pour les pompiers de l'Alberta. En souhaitant l'amour du rock ce soir, je prie. Je vous encourage à faire de l'entraînement physique québécois. On va faire une bonne chanson. Aujourd'hui, la gratitude de mon loyer pour le mois de mai. J'ai payé mon loyer, j'ai payé ma facture d'électricité, j'ai du café visité avec du vendu du café. Je fais de l'analyse en géopolitique aujourd'hui. Je me concentre un peu pour la géopolitique parce que car je suis un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, on va aller pendant à peu près 13 minutes, pas plus, parce que il fait déjà tard, donc je ne veux pas être faire trop de bruit parce que il faut faire un compromis parce que j'ai des voisins, il faut que je sois cérébral, le mental. Asperger's, j'ai l'Asperger's, puis je répète 2-3 fois la même chose, puis j'ai les symptômes de l'Asperger's, puis oui, comme les Asperger's, ce n'est pas une maladie mentale. L'Asperger's, c'est une condition neurodivergente. L'Asperger's, ce n'est pas une maladie mentale, c'est une condition neurodivergente. L'Asperger's, ce n'est pas une condition, ce n'est pas une maladie mentale, c'est une condition neurodivergence mentale. C'est une condition mentale neurodivergence, c'est une condition de neurodivergence mentale, si on veut bien. Je peux en faire de la comédie, bien sûr. Je suis super bon en géopolitique. C'est mon domaine, mon royaume, la géopolitique 24/24, l'analyse intéressée. Puis j'ai même prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe. Maintenant, j'ai prévu en 2019 la situation actuelle en géopolitique. Je l'ai prévu en 2019. Puis bien sûr, tout ce que je dis, que je vais discuter maintenant, je vais commencer avec la gratitude parce que je fais comme un vigile pour les pompiers en Alberta. Les pompiers qui font le travail avec les feux. Les feux sauvages. On salue les pompiers, puis les fermiers, puis les travailleurs publics qui changent les aqueducs, qui ramassent les poubelles pour la sanitation publique. Jusque dans les fermes des patates, les pompiers, les infirmières, les charpentiers, les électriciens, les travailleurs de l'Hydro-Québec. Pourquoi je vais l'électricité en ce moment? Pour faire cette vidéo de Rock&Roll, artistes, athlètes, philosophes indépendants qui fondent le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse. Fondamentalement avec des bisous, des châteaux, des calibres, avec de la comédie, parce qu'il y a de la comédie, puis bien sûr des choses sérieuses, parce qu'il y a quand même du sérieux, puis je suis un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, l'Asperger fait que je suis obsédé par certains intérêts, puis mes intérêts obsessifs, c'est la géopolitique, l'analyse, puis la théorie en géopolitique, et puis ça, c'est mon royaume et mon empire, la géopolitique, l'étude, puis l'analyse en géopolitique, puis aujourd'hui, puis d'hier, puis aujourd'hui, l'événement majeur en géopolitique et puis en politique, c'est la rencontre de Vladimir Poutine, le chef de la Russie, qui a été inauguré puis élu pour un cinquième mandat, mais c'est sûr, il a été président puis premier ministre, mais avant que je continue, je veux vous dire puis vous avertir que n'importe qu'est-ce que je vais me prononcer, oubliez le point de vue moral, éthique que j'ai moi-même vis-à-vis la Russie, la fédération de la Russie, parce que j'ai jamais vécu là-bas dans cette vie. Je crois à la réincarnation, puis bien sûr, j'ai été né plusieurs fois ici en 1635 et 1904. Des fois homme, des fois femme, vous avez le 50-50, votre androgène dragon arc-en-ciel, qui est philosophe et qui est analyste déjà en géopolitique indépendant, qui a analysé bien sûr l'événement majeur de cette semaine, puis ces derniers jours, c'est Vladimir Poutine qui est allé en Chine visiter le leader, le chef de la Chine, la République populaire de la Chine, et bien sûr Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping puis Vladimir Poutine se sont rencontrés, puis la dernière fois, à peu près 2 ans plus ou moins, c'est Xi Jinping qui est allé en Russie. Maintenant, c'est Vladimir Poutine qui est allé en Russie. Puis n'importe qu'est-ce que je pense, je suis un Nord-Américain, Canadien, Québécois moi-même, Québécois, Canadien, Nord-Américain, mais d'un point de vue nord-américain, parce que je suis un philosophe nord-américain qui pense, puis qui toutes mes propositions, puis protocoles, puis ma trinité de théorie, c'est pour l'Amérique du Nord, pour un partenariat public-privé, pour l'Amérique du Nord, pour un partenariat public-privé pour l'Amérique du Nord pour le 21e siècle, fondamentalement. C'est ça mes propos, puis mes propositions, puis mes initiatives, c'est fondamentalement pour l'Amérique du Nord. Puis oui, je peux être citoyen du monde pour la paix mondiale, mais fondamentalement, je suis nord-américain, puis bien sûr, tout n'importe qu'est-ce que je pense d'une manière de la morale ou éthique vis-à-vis Vladimir Poutine en tant que citoyen russe puis chef de la Russie, il faut laisser faire ça de côté. Puis n'importe qu'est-ce que je pense en tant que moralité, en tant qu'éthique philosophie ou idéologie avec Xi Jinping puis la République populaire de la Chine, il faut oublier ça. Il faut analyser ça en tant que Nord-Américain. Puis qu'est-ce que je dis sur la géopolitique, les événements géopolitiques, il faut faire oublier qu'est-ce que moi je pense personnellement. Parce que vraiment, j'ai jamais rencontré Vladimir Poutine, j'ai jamais rencontré Xi Jinping pour en parler fondamentalement. Mes propos, mes initiatives, puis ma philosophie, c'est pour l'Amérique du Nord. Pour l'Amérique du Nord. Puis oui, je suis citoyen du monde, mais j'analyse ça en tant que Nord-Américain. Puis bien sûr, mes initiatives, c'est pour le collectif de citoyens nord-américains. Donc, on a fait le grand compromis linguistique. Qu'est-ce que j'appelle le grand compromis linguistique en Amérique du Nord? Du français. On continue à le faire. Des fois, il y a des tensions. Des fois, on a des initiatives ou des lois de la législature. Tout ça, je ne vais pas rentrer dans ça, mais bien sûr, on continue à le faire. Le grand compromis linguistique de l'Amérique du Nord. Parce qu'on forme ensemble les Québécois et Québécoises avec les Canadiens et l'Amérique du Nord. Nos voisins, cousins des États-Unis, là-bas, pas loin, juste là. Je suis pas capable d'aller un couple de kilomètres, puis on traverse la frontière. Mais, anyways. Mais, c'est du point de vue nord-américain. Fait que n'importe qu'est-ce que je me prononce, c'est quand même, je me garde un peu distinct le plus que je peux, avec mes propres billets, c'est un billet philosophique en tant que nord-américain, qu'est-ce que j'en connais, mais j'en connais de la lecture, puis après, si vous rentrez dans mon royaume de la géopolitique, puis vous voulez, bien sûr, vous discuter de la Chine, de la République populaire de la Chine, il faut qu'on lit, il faut que vous ayez lu qu'est-ce que ça s'appelle la gouvernance de la Chine, des documents, c'est 4 documents, des gros quand même documents, c'est 4 volumes, qui s'appellent la gouvernance de la Chine, c'est des écritures de Xi Jinping pour comprendre qu'est-ce que Xi Jinping il bâtit, qu'est-ce qu'ils sont en train de bâtir, c'est qu'est-ce qu'il appelle une société ou une civilisation socialiste spirituelle, une civilisation socialiste spirituelle, une civilisation socialiste spirituelle. Si vous n'avez pas lu les volumes, juste un peu, il ne faut pas les lire tout au complet, là, parce qu'ils sont là, c'est des gros volumes de philosophie et d'idéologie. Qu'est-ce qu'ils appellent bien sûr le communisme avec caractéristiques chinois, le communisme avec caractéristiques chinois, c'est ça l'idéologie de la République populaire de la Chine, c'est du communisme, du marxisme-léninisme avec des caractéristiques chinoises, c'est ça, adapté à la Chine. Mais c'est quand même du marxisme-léninisme de Karl Marx, et Engels. Et bien sûr, qu'est-ce que je m'en prononce? Puis si vous voulez discuter, rentrer dans le royaume de la géopolitique, parce qu'en tant qu'Aspie, Asperger, ça c'est mon royaume, hein, c'est mes intérêts obsessifs, c'est la géopolitique 24/24, l'analyse puis la théorie, puis j'ai fait bien des écritures ces dernières 7 années vis-à-vis la géopolitique, puis bien sûr, qu'est-ce que j'appelle le collectif de civilisation nord-américain, puis comment on interagit avec les réalités géopolitiques d'aujourd'hui, puis peut-être du futur, en faisant des analyses pour le futur, mais pour le présent, puis en voyant un peu dans le passé aussi, parce qu'il y a beaucoup des événements du passé qui ont survenu aujourd'hui, là, puis ça s'est rendu aujourd'hui, puis des fois, il faut qu'on fasse la réconciliation en tant que Nord-Américains, puis les Nord-Américains, il faut qu'on s'unisse de côte à côte, de côte à côte, de côte à côte. Ça, c'est la chanson Rock&Roll 24/24. Hein. Puis bien sûr, qu'on continue à faire le grand compromis linguistique en faisant la création de la culture, puis des fois X, Y, Z. Bon, en tout cas. Puis la géopolitique manière d'aujourd'hui, c'est la rencontre de Xi Jinping avec Poutine qui est allé en Chine. Puis d'une manière générale, qu'est-ce qui ça a fait preuve, mais ça a fait preuve que eux autres, qu'est-ce qu'ils veulent faire, c'est une alliance, forte alliance militaire, économique, pour mettre un fin à qu'est-ce que ça s'appelle, le monde unipolaire, dominé par les États-Unis, depuis la chute de l'Union soviétique. Plus que 33 ans, plus que 33 ans, peut-être 33 ans de la domination des États-Unis sur la scène internationale. Le monde, si on veut. T'sais. Fait qu'eux autres, avec ça, ils ont dit clairement qu'ils ont mis fin à ça. Eux autres, c'est ça qu'ils ont dit. Ils ont mis fin à la domination des États-Unis dans le monde. Fait qu'à la place de l'hégémonie, ils vont mettre une multipolarité. Qu'est-ce qu'ils appellent l'ordre multipolaire. Donc, eux autres, ils ont fait leur alliance militaire économique pour mettre fin. Ça, c'est sûr qu'il y a des détails, mais en général, vous avez le monde, la géopolitique internationale, c'est leurs alliances militaires économiques, c'est pour mettre fin. That's it, that's all, rock and roll. Pour mettre fin à qu'est-ce qu'ils appellent. Ben, si c'est une réalité ou non pas, là, ça, on peut en discuter, mais c'est ça leur intention, l'intention. Pourquoi ils se sont rencontrés? Pourquoi ils ont fait des alliances militaires comme une... Oubliez qu'est-ce que moi je pense d'une manière éthique et morale de Vladimir Poutine. Vladimir Poutine, c'est le chef de la Fédération russe, des forces armées russes, puis des services secrets russes, puis du gouvernement russe, à la fin du jour. Moi, je suis un Nord-Américain, mais la poussière pas bon dans certaines choses, bon en géopolitique, bon à la danse, puis avec du rock-roll en tant qu'artiste, athlète, philosophe avec Asperger, et puis arc-en-ciel 24/24, bien sûr, puis avec mes propres fautes, mes propres défauts, puis tout ça, mais je suis maître de la géopolitique, et que là, vous me parlez de la géopolitique, vous rentrez dans mon royaume. Puis si vous rentrez pour discuter de la Chine, vous êtes mieux de savoir, vous demandez c'est quoi la gouvernance, si vous avez lu les volumes de la gouvernance de la Chine, gouvernance de la Chine, gouvernance de la Chine, il faut savoir, au moins un peu. Parce que ça, c'est Xi Jinping qui les a écrits, puis c'est là-bas qu'il dit l'idéologie, la philosophie pour la gouvernance de la République populaire de la Chine, qui a 1,4 milliard d'habitants. Comme au Québec, on est 10 millions, au Canada, on est plus que 40 millions, puis en Amérique du Nord, on est plus que 600 avec le Mexique, nos frères et sœurs du Mexique. Plus que 600 millions en Amérique du Nord de non-américains. Donc, en Amérique du Nord, pour avoir l'harmonie, l'équilibre et la continuité d'avoir la paix, l'harmonie, la balance d'équilibre, c'est qu'on a fait de grands compromis linguistiques. On a du travail à faire sur bien des choses. Bon, on peut se retrouver à la géopolitique, l'événement majeur, c'est la rencontre de Vladimir Poutine avec Xi Jinping. Puis, qu'est-ce qu'ils ont dit au monde? Ils ont dit, nous, la Chine, puis la Russie, on a mis fin au monde unipolaire, dominé par les États-Unis. On a mis fin à ça. On remplace par un monde multipolaire. Multipolaire. Donc, c'est ça que leur intention, une des intentions primaires. Leurs autres intentions, puis les autres, pourquoi ils ont solidifié cette alliance militaire, c'est parce qu'il y a des intérêts communs. Russie vis-à-vis de l'Ukraine, puis la Chine vis-à-vis de Taïwan. Le Taïwan s'appelle officiellement la République de la Chine. La République de la Chine, puis la République populaire de la Chine. C'est une chose qu'ils n'ont pas résolu leur conflit, ça date depuis Mao Tse-tung, puis la guerre civile du 20e siècle, du 20e siècle. Ici en Amérique du Nord, on a fait des réconciliations majeures, linguistiques, puis avec nos frères et sœurs, qui sont en Amérique du Nord, puis tous ceux qui viennent, puis on y travaille. Du racisme, c'est sûr qu'on a une société diverse, mais on y travaille. On essaye. Ça prend un effort constant, mais il faut faire l'effort pour sauver le collectif d'associations nord-américains. C'est pour ça que je fais appel pour construire, bien sûr, de la défense intégrée, qu'est-ce que j'appelle l'épervier nord-américain pour interpeller s'il y a des missiles intercontinentaux qui sont lancés vers l'Amérique du Nord, ou bien sûr, si de défense, qu'est-ce qu'on appelle le scorpion du Nord, parce qu'il y a un scorpion qui se trouve au Mexique, au Canada, puis aux États-Unis, qui s'en va jusqu'en Alberta, en Saskatchewan, puis bien sûr en Colombie-Britannique. C'est le scorpion du Nord. On a un seul scorpion. C'est le scorpion du Nord, au Canada. On a un seul espèce de scorpion, c'est le scorpion du Nord. Je ne vais pas rentrer parce que c'est des choses, j'ai des écritures philosophiques que j'avais écrites, puis des thèses, puis des initiatives que je dis bien sûr dans le mode de communication orale, puis que je vous en discute bien sûr dans mes vidéos longs de la marche en deuxième maison la montagne, là, mais c'est bien sûr des protocoles et des initiatives que j'ai écrits bien sûr en tant que philosophe, analyste et théoricien en géopolitique là, pendant les derniers plus que 7 ans. Là, plus dernièrement durant la COVID, puis j'ai écrit de la philosophie, puis bien sûr ma thèse en tant que le docteur du peuple qui s'intitule bien sûr, je l'ai présenté en discussion orale, puis je vais continuer dans le futur, c'est le privilège de la civilisation vis-à-vis de ce que j'appelle le collectif de civilisation nord-américain. Donc, le collectif de civilisation nord-américaine, parce qu'en Amérique du Nord, on constitue un collectif de civilisation qui n'est pas divorcé de la civilisation occidentale, mais qui a des distinctions. Donc, ça retenir qu'on n'est pas divorcé, mais on est distinct. On a des distinctions vis-à-vis et face à l'Occident, la civilisation occidentale. En Amérique du Nord, on est une nouvelle civilisation émergente avec des points de vue de l'infrastructure, du sport, de la culture intégrée, qui est un petit peu distincte, mais pas divorcée. Il n'y a pas de divorce avec la civilisation occidentale, mais il y a des distinctions. Et donc, on forme un collectif civilisationnel émergent. Et bien sûr, je suis un Nord-Américain, un philosophe nord-américain, premièrement, pour la paix mondiale, pour la citoyen du monde. Je suis ouvert, universel de cœur, mais fondamentalement, je suis un analyste en géopolitique indépendant. Puis mon éthique, ma moralité, c'est ça, pas de. Je peux m'en prononcer qu'est-ce que j'en pense des YZ de Poutine puis de tout ça, mais je l'ai jamais rencontré, je peux pas vraiment me prononcer. Puis j'ai jamais vécu en Russie pour voir, puis pour discuter, puis sur le terrain en Ukraine puis en Russie, puis sur le terrain en Taïwan puis en Chine, j'ai jamais été, j'ai vécu en Amérique du Nord. Donc c'est bon. Le Montréal, pour l'Amérique du Nord de côte à côte, de côte à côte, je suis pour l'Amérique du Nord de côte à côte, pour la défense, la sécurité, puis les services, bien sûr. Donc d'une manière générale, cette rencontre de Vladimir Poutine et de Xi Jinping, c'est pour nous dire et nous montrer, bien sûr, pas juste à nous, mais au monde entier, que eux autres, ils ont mis fin à ce qu'on appelle l'hégémonie des États-Unis. Un monde unipolaire, ils ont mis fin à ça, puis ils le remplacent par un monde multipolaire. D'où que eux autres, ils vont faire une place et ils vont prendre leur place dans le monde de la géopolitique puis dans le monde des relations internationales en formant d'autres alliances avec d'autres pays, mais avec leur alliance militaire économique en étant force. Fait qu'ils vont faire une alliance autour de cette alliance majeure russo-chinoise entre la Russie et la Chine, russo-chinoise entre la Russie puis la Chine, Comme nous autres, et moi je suis pour une alliance forte au 21e siècle de l'Amérique du Nord dans une république démocratique. Un partenariat public-privé qui fait partie de mon rêve, qui se manifeste comme le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, du royaume de la déesse, quand je dis le royaume de la déesse qui danse, du royaume et de la déesse qui danse, c'est fondamentalement un appel pour un partenariat public-privé à travers le collectif des États nord-américains, soit à travers l'Amérique du Nord. Puis l'OTAN, bien sûr. Puis l'OTAN, parce qu'on fait partie de l'OTAN, puis la Suède est le 32e nouveau membre de l'OTAN, mais bien sûr, je pousse pour le local, puis bien sûr pour Montréal, puis le Québec, puis l'Amérique du Nord, en termes nord-américains, puis quelqu'un qui... Je suis un mystique, je crois à la réincarnation, puis j'étais né 2 fois après 1776, j'ai servi les 2 fois... J'étais né aux États-Unis après 1776, fait que ce petit côté un peu spirituel, là, j'ai cru à la réincarnation, puis bien sûr, j'ai été né 2 fois. Après 1776, dans l'armée des États-Unis, après, j'ai servi les 2 fois à la réincarnation dans l'armée des États-Unis, après 1776. Et bon, aujourd'hui, le 17 mai 2024, la réalité, c'est que Xi Jinping et Vladimir Poutine ils ont constitué une nouvelle alliance. Puis cette alliance, ils vont constituer des petites régions alliances. Mais c'est une alliance qu'il faut prendre très au sérieux. Et avant de discuter de la Chine, il faut vraiment lire la gouvernance de la Chine, qui était un volume, qui a été publié, 4 volumes, quand même des choses à lire dedans. C'est quand même de la grosse lecture, mais il faut lire pour comprendre la Chine, la vision, parce que n'importe qu'est-ce que je dis, puis qu'est-ce que je me prononce, qu'est-ce que je pense du marxisme-léninisme en tant que philosophe centriste, et bien sûr, pour l'Amérique du Nord, mon protocole, mes initiatives, premièrement, fondamentalement, mon opinion personnelle n'est pas vraiment valide dans ce temps-là. C'est Xi Jinping, puis l'armée de la Chine, puis le gouvernement de Xi Jinping, le Parti communiste chinois, ils vont bâtir, puis ils vont continuer à bâtir ce que les autres y appellent la civilisation spirituelle socialiste, ou le socialisme avec des caractéristiques chinois. Comme moi, je veux mon rêve pour le partenariat public-privé de côte à côte pour la renaissance, la vigueur, puis la renaissance de l'Amérique du Nord, puis la défense, la sécurité, puis la joie de l'Amérique du Nord, des Nord-Américains, parce que je suis fondamentalement un Nord-Américain. Personnellement, je me considère pas comme un membre d'une diaspora. Personnellement, je me vois pas ni considère pas comme un membre d'une diaspora. Personnellement, c'est ma maison ici en Amérique du Nord, chez nous à Montréal, puis je me considère pas en tant qu'un membre d'une diaspora. Puis bien sûr, je suis pour la paix universelle, pour citoyen du monde de cœur universel, mais fondamentalement, je suis nord-américain, philosophe, analyste en géopolitique nord-américain. Puis, bien sûr que mon opinion personnelle vis-à-vis Vladimir Poutine et Xi Jinping, dans ce cas d'analyse de la géopolitique, n'est pas valide, puis ça n'a pas d'importance. That's it, that's all rock-and-roll. Xi Jinping et Vladimir Poutine, les chefs de la Russie, le chef de la Chine, ils ont formé une alliance pour dire qu'eux autres, ils vont bâtir, puis ont mis fin au monde unipolaire dominé par les États-Unis. That's it, that's all rock'n'roll, pour simplifier les choses, parce que je peux rentrer dans un discours très intense, intellectuel, philosophique, puis bien sûr utiliser des mots divergents parallèlement à certains aspects des détails militaires, économiques, des intérêts russes et des intérêts chinois qui ont vis-à-vis leurs pays respectifs, soit la Fédération russe et la République de la Chine. C'est des choses comme ça. Mais en général, ils ont mis fin à un monde. Ils ont fait leur alliance militaire économique pour mettre fin au monde unipolaire. Pour construire qu'est-ce qu'eux autres ils veulent bâtir, un monde multipolaire. Où que la Russie puis la Chine ont un rôle très très important et égal aux États-Unis. C'est ça qu'ils veulent. C'est ça qu'ils font. C'est ça qu'ils ont fait par cette alliance. C'est ça qu'ils ont fait quand ils ont commencé à faire, quand Xi Jinping a visité la Russie. Il y a à peu près 2 ans, plus ou moins 2 ans. Là. Puis maintenant, c'est Vladimir Poutine qui est allé en Russie. Puis on solidifié, puis on signait plus de contrats, plus d'alliances. C'est comme moi je veux, c'est bon. On se marie ensemble, les Nord-Américains. Puis pour le partenariat public-privé, ça c'est mon initiative, mon rêve, qu'on signe, qu'on étampe. Pas besoin de 100, mais juste des chansons, puis de la danse. Pas de sang, juste des chansons, puis de la danse, puis des bisous, puis des pompes aussi, parce que ça prend de la force, mais on ne peut pas se baser tout sur la force. On ne peut pas se baser toute notre civilisation nord-américaine, des Québécois et Québécoises, sur la force brute, sur la force, sur l'avion. On ne peut pas sur l'agressivité non plus. Moi-même, j'en ai moi aussi. Hein. L'agressivité m'est chère. Mais je m'entraîne, je fais de l'exercice physique pour faire la sublimation, pour sublimer ces énergies parallèlement à l'énergie sexuelle ou d'agressivité. En tant qu'individu, dans un collectif. Toujours un équilibre, une balance qu'on y travaille toujours pour atteindre. Puis pour ma renaissance, j'ai souffert, j'étais en dépression puis suicidaire. J'ai sorti de la dépression quand j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte en 2017, en août puis en septembre. Je suis allé premièrement en Alberta, Colombie-Britannique, à l'ouest, puis après ça, je suis allé à l'est, en Halifax. J'ai dit, waouh, tellement de choses à voir au Québec, au Canada, tellement de beaux pays. Quand je suis allé à Banff, j'étais comme, oh, Banff, waouh! J'ai jamais vu ça. Fait que cet événement-là, ça m'a fait sortir de la dépression et être suicidaire. Pour ça, j'ai écrit des protocoles, blablabla, pour financer déjà qu'est-ce que j'appelle le tourisme inter-citoyen intégré nord-américain, le tourisme par un partenariat public-privé, de tourisme nord-américain intégré pour les gens qui voient qu'est-ce qu'on a au Canada, parce qu'on a des bonnes choses, puis des choses, tellement de choses, des centrales au Québec que je veux voir, tellement de choses que je veux faire. Je suis sorti de la dépression, commencé à m'entraîner, puis j'ai commencé à écrire commencé à mon travail, parce que en tant qu'Asperger's, la géopolitique, la philosophie, c'est mes obsessions, les études de civilisation avec le sport, l'entraînement physique, la danse. Et mon sport préféré, c'est sûr que la danse est mon sport préféré, là, mais puis bien sûr, de retour en géopolitique. Encore pour 5 minutes, puis je vous laisse, même si personne ne regarde, mais c'est pas grave, il n'y a pas de trouble, je le fais quand même pour moi-même, c'est mon travail, puis en tant que YouTuber, sur Facebook, bien sûr, en étant ouvert pour les affaires. Mais si vous parlez de la Chine, vous voulez faire une analyse vis-à-vis de nos relations de la Chine, puis qu'est-ce qui est arrivé dernièrement avec les choses de sécurité, les choses qu'on a en question pour l'espionnage et tout ça, là, mais que ça soit XYZ, puis comme j'ai dit en anglais, là, comme j'ai parlé en anglais, puis des fois c'est avec l'Asperger, je suis quand même direct, je veux pas offenser personne, mais l'Asperger, ça fait quand même que j'ai des choses plus directes des fois, même plus sophistiquées, intellectuelles d'une manière cosmopolitaine, mais des fois c'est des choses aussi plus directes. Puis moi je dirais que la Russie puis la Chine, si vous voulez voir, à cause de nos positions de nos chefs puis de nos politiques, ils ont intérêt quand même à fomenter des mouvements hostiles aux intérêts nord-américains. Je veux juste le résumer de même. Ils ont l'intérêt, ben, tant que pas le peuple russe, là, les 144 millions, mais Vladimir Poutine, puis le régime, puis le gouvernement de Vladimir Poutine, avec toutes ses dispositions, puis son appareil, avec Xi Jinping, parce qu'à cause des positions que nos chefs ont prises sur la République de la Chine, qui est la Taïwan, l'île de Taïwan, que c'est un conflit qui n'est pas encore résolu 100%, puis ça date du 20e siècle, à la guerre civile chinoise, puis je ne vais pas rentrer dans ça parce que je connais quand même, c'est la géopolitique, c'est mon royaume, fait que je connais quand même ces choses-là. Mais l'important, c'est que nous, ici, Québécois et Québécoises, pour avoir la continuité de l'harmonie puis la paix, on a fait le grand compromis linguistique. Puis quand même, il y a eu dernièrement, il y a un couple de mois, du financement du fédéral aussi pour le français. Moi, je suis prêt à faire du bénévolat parce que je viens de voir c'est juste écrit en français sur la montagne. C'est comme ma deuxième maison de Montréal. Si vous me donnez les pancartes en anglais, je suis prêt à faire de la traduction. Des fois, la bureaucratie, ça impède l'action aussi. Fait que j'ai souffert à couple blablabla. Je ne veux pas en rentrer dans les choses personnelles, là, mais anyways, en tout cas. Moi, je pourrais aller me mettre là, sur la montagne, en bilingue, là, même toutes les langues, nos frères et sœurs du Mexique. Juste me fait imprimer, puis je vais aller, moi, donner les bras, puis les mettre, puis les coller pour que la traduction des. Je parle de la zone de plantation sur Montréal, c'est écrit juste en français, puis les autres choses qui sont écrites juste en français. Je pense qu'on pourrait faire un effort pour mettre en anglais aussi pour nos frères et sœurs qui viennent d'ailleurs, en belle province, pour partager avec nous, puis explorer notre culture, qu'on a bien de la culture, bien du fromage, pas juste du fromage, mais je veux dire, du fromage, du vin, on a de la nourriture, des villes, on a Montréal, on a Québec, on a l'Hydro-Québec, on a de tout, de tout, de tout. Fait que, puis de Montréal, j'aime ça quand ils s'en vont là-bas au Belvédère, qu'on dirait là, qu'ils voient la meilleure ville au monde pour moi, à Montréal, puis le centre-ville, puis avec les montagnes, Saint-Bruno, puis Saint-Hilaire, tout ça, ils voient de loin, puis c'est ma place préférée, aller là-bas, ou Condirnac, avec Belvedere, puis c'est juste en français maintenant, mais j'aimerais ça qu'on mette bilingue, là, mais c'est un petit appel de cœur, je suis prêt à faire du bénévolat pour les mettre, pour les... me donner les outils, j'y travaille, mais vous ne me donnez pas des outils, vous ne me donnez pas de travail, mais qu'est-ce que vous allez me demander? Mon loyer est payé, ma facture d'électricité est payée, j'ai du café puis du thé, puis de la gratitude. C'est important pour la santé mentale parce que tout ce qu'on a en Amérique du Nord, là, il faut faire conscience. Puis depuis que je suis mort, la COVID, c'est comme la mort, la pestilence, la maladie, c'est comme la mort, la pestilence, la maladie, c'est comme la mort, la pestilence, la maladie. Quand j'ai eu la COVID, déjà 4 ans, février-mars 2020, ça fait déjà 4 ans, waouh! J'étais vraiment malade, c'était, je suis mort, j'étais en train de renaître. Mais anyways, de retour à la géopolitique. N'importe qu'est-ce que je me prononce, puis qu'est-ce que je dis, je vais dire ça comme j'ai dit en anglais. Puis sans rentrer dans des détails, parce que c'est pour des discussions peut-être avec le premier ministre, puis avec les ministres responsables de la sécurité publique. Donc j'en ai fait, puis j'ai des documents, bien sûr, j'avais fait une coopération dans un couple d'années avec le CISIS, le Service de sécurité d'intelligence canadienne, le Service de sécurité d'intelligence canadienne, le Service de sécurité d'intelligence canadienne. Et bien sûr, dans tous ces prononcements, bien sûr, qui ont un intérêt de fomenter, de soutenir des mouvements hostiles pour l'Amérique du Nord. C'est sûr qu'il y a un intérêt, Vladimir Poutine et Xi Jinping, de soutenir d'une manière, que ce soit par les finances, par l'encouragement idéologique, quoi que ce soit, des mouvements et des groupes hostiles aux intérêts nord-américains. Ça fait que je vais le répéter clairement et directement parce que à cause des positions, on a pris, mais il n'y a pas de vote, s'il y a eu de vote ou non, là, aujourd'hui, le 17 mai, là, les positions qu'on a prises vis-à-vis certains conflits, certaines positions avec la Russie et l'Ukraine, la Chine et le Taïwan. Encore une fois, dis ça, c'est ça, mais qu'est-ce que j'en pense personnellement? J'ai jamais rencontré Vladimir Poutine, jamais été en Russie, dans cette vie, j'ai jamais été en Chine. Je suis pour la paix mondiale universelle, mais je suis nord-américain. Mes philosophies, c'est pour l'Amérique du Nord, de côte à côte, d'océan à océan. L'Atlantique, c'est par l'Est, le Pacifique, c'est par l'Ouest. Pour l'Amérique du Nord. Oui, pour la paix mondiale aussi, mais fondamentalement, je suis un nord-américain quand même. Je peux me prononcer parce que je fais de mes études intenses en géopolitique internationale, puis les événements majeurs, puis les analyses 24 sur 24 au quotidien des nouvelles, puis tout ce qui se passe, puis des ententes, des alliances militaires du passé, du présent, puis des spéculations futures. Puis, je peux le dire, j'ai la preuve du travail. J'ai prévu en 2019 une conflagration internationale, soit une troisième guerre mondiale en 2019, basée sur mes analyses intenses. J'ai prévu que l'humanité, puis les pays, puis les régions géopolitiques, puis les différences culturelles, puis de civilisation, ils vont s'en aller se diriger vers une conflagration internationale. Je l'ai prévu en 2019. La géopolitique, c'est mon domaine. Mais des choses, je suis médiocre. Je suis pas bon, je suis comme ci, comme ça. Mais si vous rentrez dans la géopolitique, vous rentrez dans mon royaume, mon domaine. Bon, en tant que nord-américain, qui est pour l'Amérique du Nord, la continuité de la civilisation nord-américaine, parce que fondamentalement, comme je dis, je suis nord-américain, canadien, québécois, puis plus loin, l'OTAN, mais that's all rock-and-roll, puis pour la paix mondiale, mais j'ai prévu ces choses-là, puis je peux pas en discuter tellement de choses, mais pour simplifier les choses, puis dire, faire une analyse, puis en tant que pour la défense de l'Amérique du Nord, puis ma théorie d'intégration citoyenne, que je fais appel à tous et toutes pour un partenariat public à soutenir, un partenariat public-privé pour le mandat d'un partenariat public-privé, bien sûr, et bien sûr, c'est que Xi Jinping, puis Vladimir Poutine, ils ont des intérêts maintenant vis-à-vis certaines actions que nos gouvernements quand même y ont pris vis-à-vis certaines politiques internationales, vis-à-vis certaines positions de certains conflits, de certains vis-à-vis certains mouvements géopolitiques, puis en politique, puis en finance. C'est qu'ils ont un intérêt de soutenir des groupes puis des mouvements qui sont hostiles aux intérêts de l'Amérique du Nord. Si je peux en résumer. Sans nommer des noms, faire d'autres spéculations plus en détail, mais de manière générale. Parce qu'il peut y en avoir plusieurs, non? Il peut y en avoir plusieurs groupes qui sont exposés. Puis c'est sûr qu'il faut avoir du changement, mais je pense qu'un partenariat public-privé, puis le centrisme universel, là, pour l'Amérique du Nord, c'est mieux. Puis pour la création de 2 nouvelles institutions de partenariat public-privé que j'en ai discuté, ça fait des années durant la COVID, puis j'en continue encore à faire appel pour ce mandat du Septennium. Mais bon, en général aussi, de cette manière générale, ils ont solidifié leur alliance militaire économique. Puis le message, encore une fois, était le même que quand Xi Jinping est allé en Russie. La Russie, Xi Jinping, la Chine, dirigée par Xi Jinping, puis Vladimir Poutine, la Russie, la Fédération russe, dirigée par Vladimir Poutine. Les autres ensemble, ils ont dit, on va mettre fin à l'hégémonie des États-Unis, d'une manière générale. On va soutenir l'ensemble. La Russie, la Chine, de manière économique, finance, puis politique. Ils vont se soutenir. Ils ont solidifié aujourd'hui, puis hier, leur alliance. Comme moi, je suis pour solidifier avec nos frères et sœurs des États-Unis, de toutes les manières, d'intégration citoyenne, par la création d'une nouvelle institution, puis par mes initiatives de défense, sécurité et services, puis la continuité de la civilisation nord-américaine, la continuité du complexe, parce qu'on constitue un complexe de civilisation, en Amérique du Nord émergent nouveau depuis la fin de la Deuxième Guerre mondiale, puis pour bâtir pour la défense, que ce soit pour bâtir d'autres systèmes de défense de côte à côte pour l'interception des missiles intercontinentaux pour bâtir, construire plus de satellites, des satellites de partenariats public-privé, puis des centrales de superordinateurs pour pouvoir faire et voir à travers l'Amérique du Nord, comme la surveillance citoyenne intégrée, des citoyens qui peuvent aller s'intégrer et voir ce qui se passe à travers l'Amérique du Nord. C'est une vision pour le partenariat public-privé de continuité pour l'Amérique du Nord, puis pour la défense de côte à côte. Qu'est-ce que j'appelle le projet de l'épervier, l'épervier nord-américain, l'épervier nord-américain pour la défense de l'air, de côte à côte, puis le scorpion du Nord pour la défense, sécurité et le service de la continuité de la complexisation dans un cas où il y a une guerre nucléaire, possibilité d'une guerre nucléaire, possibilité d'une conflagration même nucléaire, parce que dernière semaine, Vladimir Poutine, l'armée de Vladimir Poutine a mis des missiles, les Yars 24, qui peuvent se rendre jusqu'ici. D'après ce qu'on sait en théorie, les Yars, les missiles intercontinentaux des Yars, ils peuvent traverser, d'une distance de 10 500 km. De Montréal jusqu'à Moscou, c'est 8 500 km. De Montréal jusqu'à Moscou, c'est 8 500 km. De Montréal jusqu'à Moscou, c'est 8 500 km. D'ici, de Montréal jusqu'à Moscou, c'est 8 500 km. Fait qu'imaginez-vous s'il peut traverser d'une distance de 10 500 km. Les Yars 24, fait que ça peut se rendre plus que jusqu'où? En théorie, ils peuvent se rendre jusqu'où? Jusqu'aux prairies, jusqu'au centre du Canada. Ça dépend de quel bout qu'il a lancé, parce qu'il peut être lancé de l'est de la Russie et de l'ouest. Parce que l'ouest de la Russie, ça touche à l'Ukraine, hein, puis le reste, ça touche à la Chine, puis ça touche à l'Alaska, parce que la Russie, ça a 14 de temps. C'est énorme. La Russie, c'est le pays le plus en géographie du monde. La Chine, je pense qu'il a été surpassé par l'Inde, hein, du point de vue de la population. Mais... Anyway, pour en résumer avec la géopolitique, parce que ça, c'est mon intérêt obsessif. L'Asperger's, ma condition neurodivergente mentale. L'Asperger's n'est pas une maladie mentale. C'est juste, j'ai des obsessions, des intérêts obsessifs, puis quand je discute ou j'analyse ou je travaille dans ces intérêts, je suis tellement dedans, super, super, super dedans. Et moi, c'est la géopolitique, l'entraînement physique, la danse, c'est mon sport préféré, puis la philosophie en tant qu'artiste, philosophe indépendant. Cette analyse, n'importe qu'est-ce que je dis, puis oublier qu'est-ce que je pense d'une manière éthique et morale indépendante, ça n'a pas d'importance. Qu'est-ce que j'en pense de... Ça n'a pas vraiment d'importance. Qu'est-ce que je pense? C'est de dissocier moi en tant que personne, puis mes propres moralités arc-en-ciel, puis le rock-and-roll, puis tout ça, de l'analyse en géopolitique, puis mes propositions, puis mes, bien sûr, propositions, puis mes initiatives que je fais appel à tous et toutes à soutenir. Il faut dissocier ça un peu de moi en tant que personne, individu, avec des fautes, avec des erreurs, avec des médiocrités, avec des choses que je ne suis pas bon dedans, avec bon, qu'est-ce que j'aime, l'amour arc-en-ciel, sadomaso, pas besoin de m'espionner, le service secret de la Chine, le service secret de la Russie, là, qui sont à l'océan Atlantique, c'est par l'est, le Pacifique, c'est par l'ouest, côte à côte de l'Amérique du Nord. Pas besoin de m'espionner là-dessus. En tout cas, mais c'est quand même un partenariat public-privé, puis ça prend l'individu, puis le collectif, maintenant. Ça prend l'harmonie, puis l'équilibre, puis la balance. Parce que si je sors dehors de chez nous, de ma grotte, j'ai des responsabilités, obligations additionnelles, puis ça, c'est la question, puis le travail pour le 21e siècle, du point de vue nord-américain, au moins du collectif des nord-américains, comment qu'on progresse pour l'individu, pour faire opprimer l'individu, l'effort individuel avec le collectif. Au 21e siècle, ça a été la grosse lutte, ben des millions, la Première Guerre mondiale, Deuxième Guerre mondiale, pour faire ce progrès de la liberté, que ça soit, il faut faire l'assurance de la liberté. Il faut l'assurer en Amérique du Nord. Par la nourriture, la maison, tout ça, l'hébergement, l'essentiel, l'hébergement, après ça les plus, les extras de la civilisation, les extras de la civilisation, comme l'Internet, l'eau chaude, l'eau potable, tous ces petits extras-là. Les biscuits, le sucre, tout ça là, dans la culture, l'amour, la culture, puis toutes ces choses-là. Puis bien sûr, en tant que quelqu'un qui a écrit un protocole il y a plus que 7 ans sur mes frères et sœurs, mais en Amérique du Nord qui ont perdre la liberté et tout ça, là, puis ça prend une question de justice, parce que je dis toujours mes positions sur la justice, puis mes discours sur la justice, ben, si quelqu'un, il vole un pain pour manger parce qu'il a faim, il faut discerner, puis c'est pas la même chose qu'il vole une bouteille de vin, qu'il vole une auto, pas la même chose, voler du pain pour manger parce que t'as faim, ou une tomate, un pain, ou du fromage pour manger, que si tu voles du vin pour boire, pour te saouler la gueule, comme on dit en bon québécois, pas la même chose, pas donner les mêmes travaux communautaires, je vais pas donner les mêmes choses. Là. Ça prend une balance de la justice. On ne peut pas se baser juste sur la force, puis la puissance, puis la violence, puis l'agressivité. Il faut avoir de la douceur, il faut avoir la compréhension, de l'amour, puis du doux. Ça prend de ça. On ne peut pas se baser juste sur ces principes de la force brute. Ça en prend de la force, ça prend de la force. Ça prend des muscles et du cerveau, comme les pompiers en Alberta. Salutations. On ne peut pas se baser juste sur ça. On ne peut pas se baser juste sur ça. Ça prend d'autres choses. Ça prend l'amour, du doux, la compréhension. L'Asperger, mais je suis une minorité. Minorité d'Asperger, j'y travaille sur mes symptômes. Juste dernièrement, je l'ai accepté. Je suis venu ici dans cette nouvelle grotte avec rien, peut-être. 11 heures.